Welcome back to another edition of the Rodcast. Great show planned for you today. Lots of NFL news, notes, and nuggets to discuss. We'll talk about whether Dak's going to be the first $60 million man in the NFL. We'll get into that. We'll also talk about some Quinn Ewers and some of his quarterback growth because he actually was doing an interview with RG3. We'll hear from him, hear some of that audio as well coming up a little bit later on the show. We'll go behind the burnt orange curtain next segment, actually get into some Texas football discussion. We'll also dive into a little NBA talk. There's a little nugget that I want to get Patrick's thoughts about, something Wemby is doing in the offseason that was revealed. We'll get into that too coming up on the show. We got lots of discussion because there's a potential NFL quarter salary cap that is being hypothesized. And it's something that the NFL could potentially pursue is a quarterback salary cap. Think of it like the NBA max salary. We'll talk about that too coming up because now with the salaries of the quarterbacks ballooning and getting to some right now $60 million range is what they're approaching. There's a lot of talk that maybe the NFL wants to put a cap on that. So we'll get into that coming up a little bit later on the show. We got your usual favorites coming up. We'll also get to, what the facts, what the stats. We got topic of the big fat poll of the day. We got who said that off the record, all your usual favorites. Before we do, let's introduce you to the rest of the crew. He's one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. He's got a hustler spirit, period. Not sure what he's paid, but I'm pretty sure that he's underpaid. Ain't no 401k for this hustler, and he's a hustle man of many talents. It's our friend, co-host, and neighbor. It's Patrick Davis, y'all. What's going on, Patrick? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. Getting through another day here. It was a lot of rain yesterday. A lot of rain yesterday. I was trying to help out a buddy with some things and got wet and then changed clothes and then got wet again. Then it was driving and then it was just rain. So it was yesterday went from like, oh, rain will be nice to I'm completely done with it. And then I think we're supposed to get more today. So
torrential downpour. No, it was coming down, man.
It was coming.
It was a good
down.
thing though.
We needed the rain, but yeah, it was a day.
Not when you were doing whatever you were doing though.
Exactly. It was one of those things. You're like, why is it on the day that why did I pick this day to do everything? I did not schedule very well around the weather.
You can't trust the weather reports, really. I mean, I know they did say it was going to rain, but sometimes the weather reports are a little off.
Sometimes.
They're just like us. The weather people, the meteorologists. Some of them are just weather men, women, meteorologists. They're kind of like us, guessing about sports sometimes. Yeah. I mean, we got some accurate information. We got data, just like they got data. But we're not always right in those predictions, and they're not always right either.
Exactly. So, let me tell you about my co-host. He's a proud alumni of DBU. He's got more papers than Dunder Mifflin and watches more film than Siskel and Ebert. He is the new Rod, father of Austin Sports Radio, Mr. Rod Babers.
I appreciate the intro as always. So we got a lot of different nuggets that we'll get into on the show. Just different topics that I've gathered over the last couple of weeks that I've wanted to get to. We really hadn't had time. We were talking about the finals, but now we do have some time. So I want to get into this idea because it's actually been something that's been thrown out there for a while. Matter of fact, going back to I want to say it was like a report from a couple of years ago that the NFL owners were discussing a quarterback cap, kind of a max salary for quarterbacks, or something I've actually even thought about, just removing the quarterback from the salary cap altogether. Basically, treat quarterbacks like coaches. You can pay them whatever the hell you want to. That's on you. That's your business. That's on you. Whatever you want to pay your quarterback, that's on you. And you could do it that way too, but then I guess cheap owners would be punished because they wouldn't want to pay whatever the price tag would be for a top dollar quarterback in free agency. But most teams are drafting their quarterbacks and then extending their quarterbacks. But I guess you may get quarterbacks who decide that they don't want to play for the team that drafted them and they'd rather seek the free agent market more. But still, I don't even know how you would, and the NBA has done this, but the NBA has guaranteed salaries too. So there's a big difference, but we'll get into it because I think it is something that's come up multiple times in the last few years with the quarterback salaries ballooning. And I think at one point it's inevitable. They're going to address it. I just don't know how the NFL is going to address the quarterback salaries. And you can make the argument they probably shouldn't. They should just leave it alone. But the NFL thinks that the quarterback salaries, remember, like they did much like the rookie wage scale, that at one point it's becoming a untenable situation for them.
Yeah,
like they basically can't control it at all. Like it's just going to continue to increase, and it is. I mean, they said we'll get into it a little bit too. Dak's going to be the beneficiary of that, but there's talk that they want to put a cap on it. So we'll get into that a little bit later on. We'll also talk Texans on the show. I don't think we're giving the props to how good Nico Collins is. I've been doing some research about the Texans and their offense overall, how it's going to look with the new additions of Stephon Diggs and Joe Mixon now added to the equation. And man, Nico Collins last year was just a monster. And it looks like that was a progression, that wasn't some outlier performance, that he was building up to that. And there was a lot of buzz about him and about, how he was going to perform and take that next step last season. And he certainly did. But I don't think people realize how good he was. So I'll give you some numbers to put that into perspective. How good was Nico Collins last year? And now what a bargain. Actually, looking at the new contract he signed, now I'm thinking about that as a hell of a bargain for Nick Caserio and for the Texans. That is one of the best wide receiver deals in the NFL, and I'll explain to you why. We break down Nico Collins a little bit. So we'll do that, talk some Texans, and we'll get into some Cowboys conversation. Ian Rappaport, there's a number now being thrown out there for Dak Prescott's contract value. And right now, I think it's something that the Cowboys may not have a choice. They may, if they want Dak, they may be forced to pay this number. So we'll get into that too coming up a little bit later on in this segment. But first, let's get updated, let's get educated, let's get informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right. Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In Major League Baseball, the Astros even their series with the White Sox with a 4-1 win yesterday. Hunter Brown was able to give 6 innings, only allowing 1 run, getting his 4th win of the season. Cesar Salazar had 2 RBI hits in what would be only his 2nd appearance of the season for the Astros, with Dubon and McCormick adding the other run support. The Astros wrap up the series today in a day game with Spencer Arrighetti taking the mound. And the Rangers salvage a game in their series with the Mets with a 5-3 victory. Jose Urena gets the win after pitching 2 innings in relief after Leody Taveras hit a go-ahead 2-run homer. Wyatt Langford gets credit for 2 RBIs, one early on a hit by pitch with the bases loaded, and a big single in the 6th to tie the game. The Rangers now get the day off before starting their weekend series with the Royals tomorrow. And that is your Horn Headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn Headlines. All right, let's get right to this story. So it comes from CBS Sports. It says here, the league, according to several sources in NFL media, the league is well aware of the ballooning quarterback salaries after Trevor Lawrence's deal. Every quarterback was celebrating because every quarterback after that's thinking, including the ones who are up for deals and the ones who will be up for deals in the future, if Trevor Lawrence can get $55 million a year, then you can make the argument for a lot of other quarterbacks that can make that kind of money. You can make the argument for Jordan Love. You can make the argument for, Brock Purdy could make that argument, whatever. He's up, like it could eat. Now, a lot of quarterbacks can make that, $55 million a year. I mean, if he can get it, why am I not deserving? Look what I've accomplished. Look what I've done. So with that being said, this report says that Tom Pelissero says that at some point, he believes that the owners will pursue a potential quarterback cap, like a quarterback salary cap, because they don't want the quarterback salaries to go beyond a certain percentage of the salary cap.
Yeah.
And right now, Joe Burrow is at 25% of their salary cap. And, obviously the salaries will increase, but the salary cap number also increases. So even though the quarterback position is taking up more and more of the salary cap, and I mean, there's no reason to think that that's going to slow down, but the salary cap also is going to continue to explode because of legalized gambling being a part of that now, the new TV contracts, new streaming deals, and all that being a part of it. So it's all going to continue to grow. But they said they do have a concern about that. So the NBA model is something that Pelissero noted that they may research, looking at the NBA's current max and super max restrictions for free agents and long-term contracts.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why I think they would like looking into this, is because it does put barriers on max versus super max that I think a lot of owners would like, which is we walk into the conversation, and it doesn't matter if you're Trevor Lawrence or Aaron Rodgers. I have to treat you like you're a 5-time MVP and a Super Bowl champion because you're just going to walk. Because you're going to threaten to walk as soon as I say anything negative. You're like, okay, conversation's over. You're paying me 55 or I'm walking.
Yeah.
And so if they can say, well, we're going to give you the max, but because you're not all pro, because you've only done these things, I can only pay you this amount. So I'll pay you the max I can, but this contract negotiation will go much quicker. This is the max you can get. So it incentivizes the players to be all pro. It incentivizes the players to get higher, achievements. But the issue is, for the NFL now, you just have to be a good enough starter and you can be a top paid quarterback. But you don't have to necessarily be one of the best. There is no the divider between the best quarterback pay and, well, I mean, technically now the best quarterback's what, the 10th highest paid quarterback?
Yes.
So
just annual average salary. Yes, average annual.
So I think that kind of model of building something where if you're all pro, if you have an MVP or whatever else, you can you're eligible for the Supermax, which means then you do get into that 60 million, that 25% range, but you'd be more closer to the 20%, 15 to 20% of the salary cap range if you're Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. No, I listen, I understand why the owners want it. And
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. Fiscally, it makes perfect sense actually. And it would bring some clarity to why you're paying guys, why guys are deserving of this money, rather than kind of this, oh no, it's kind of this fog that we're in now where, hey man, if this quarterback gets it, then why am I'm not deserving of that? And so yes, you can put more defined stipulations into those negotiations. I just think for the at the macro level, looking at it, the NFL, the only position right now in the NFL that is able to demand market value and get anything close to guaranteed money in these contracts. Really, like in terms of getting the whole thing guaranteed, anything close to being what a Major League Baseball salary is or Major League NBA salary is the quarterback position. And if they allow these owners now to cap it without without all of the guarantees that you get as an NBA player, NBA, of course you can cap it as an NBA player. I don't give a damn about the max salary. Look how much I'm making, period. I'm getting guaranteed money. I signed that deal. It's all guaranteed, period. The NFL career is 3.5 years, period. And now the one position that can continue to lift the kind of economic tide of all the positions, period, is quarterback, and they're going to cap it. They're going to cap it.
Yeah.
Like, think about, I'm thinking about from a players association perspective, it's horrible. Well, that should be the position that right now that should be leading the way in getting more guaranteed salaries and winning more negotiations for the NFL. But the owners are going to cap it and kind of really take away the only real substantive market value position that actually can get guaranteed money. They're going to take it away.
If I'm the rest of the league, and I think this is what the owners will basically put out to the rest of the league, these guys are stealing your money. There's a salary cap, and they are taking if we're paying them 50% of the salary cap, that means all of y'all make less money, so one guy can get rich, and all y'all are going to lose out. And I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm saying that's what they're going to sell the rest of the players.
No, trust me, class warfare is what they do really, really well. And they're going to win that. There's no doubt about it. But that's kind of, I agree, that's kind of flawed logic. But you're right, they could argue that. But my point being, the Players Association, they shouldn't allow this to happen. They should fight against it. Because with that on top of the rookie wage scale, oh man, and the lack of guaranteed salaries just all throughout the sport, and the shelf life being so short in the NFL compared to other sports, dude. Yeah, it's like I said, it's a bad precedent to set.
I think it is.
It's the only power position you have, really, in your ongoing struggle in labor versus management in the NFL, which, by the way, you lose every time.
Yeah, that's every time. That's the problem, though. Is the Players Association can fight it all they want. They don't. The NFL Players Association very rarely gets what they want.
Oh, I know. I'm saying they should. I'm just saying they should fight it. Even though, like I said, I understand why it is, and it's rational. But think about how the NFL, basically how how much power the owners have over the players and how little guaranteed money they make compared to the other sports. Quarterback is the position where they get the guaranteed dollars. Yeah, we've seen quarterbacks get fully guaranteed contracts. They're the ones who can start the precedent, and then other premium positions can at least be able to make that argument and get it too. If you take that away pretty much from the quarterbacks, and they still may get guaranteed salaries, but now you're going to cap their value. It, to me, it'll have a reverberating effect on every position. There's no doubt that's the way these negotiations work.
I'm curious within owners meetings of if there's a push from some of the older owners to get something done sooner rather than later, when they realize more and more of these, mega billionaire owners are coming in, and they will then push for more of the other flip of, oh, no, let us just pay quarterbacks whatever we want. Because we have, money's nothing to us. So we'll just go out and then we'll just tell, we can just say, look, we won't say to any specific quarterback, but we'll tell any quarterback, we'll pay you $100 million. We don't care. If you're the best quarterback in the free, we'll pay you $100 million. So don't ever re-sign with your own team. Come to us first. We'll pay you $100 million, and they can't match that. And so I'm curious if I'm curious if inside owner meetings, guys like Jerry Jones and guys who are older owners or the Chargers owners or anybody like that are a little bit more ready to make a deal early and trying to make something happen now, so that it doesn't get to the fact where they start to lose control of the NFL, and once more and more super rich owners come in and kind of bully out some of the other owners.
My idea was NBAification of the NFL. Just take it, turn it into a coach's salary. Just take it out of the equation of the salary cap. Let the owners, they're billionaires, let them pay whatever the hell they want to pay. And you would have a lot more movement, right? You'd have a lot more movement. And I'm not saying that would be totally fair and equal either. But I mean, the system you have now, what they're trying to do is they're going to cap salaries for quarterbacks, and then they're going to cap them for other positions.
Yeah.
This is just the start. They're going to be like, all right, wide receiver, getting out of control. Oh, can't have wide receivers making 50, 40, 50. Dude, they're already at 35 million. They're going to be at 40 million pretty soon. And then 50 million, they're going to cap that and go, we got to cap that too. Let's put a cap on every position. As a matter of fact, we got to cap every position. And then that's my point. If you're the NFL and you let it happen, your situation is very different than the NBA. Don't let them do it. Don't let them try to compare apples to apples. It is not. They're going to cap value on every damn thing, dude. They're going to cap all of them. This is just the start. These owners, they don't stop.
No.
The Players Association in the NBA, they win their negotiations. The MLB Players Association, they win their negotiations. You lose yours. So my point is, don't let them start this. You got to draw a line in the sand, because they will cap it all on top of your rookie wage scale.
Yeah.
So they got you discounted when they get you initially, which they didn't have used to, right? You used to be able to get at least some max value when you first got drafted. You don't get that anymore. And now we're going to cap you later on in your career too. We're going to cap you the whole way through. And by the way, your career is only 3 years. For most NFL players. And if you sign a contract, same contract, it's 6 years, 5 years, something like that max. Ask the running backs. Ask wide receivers now who are 30 years old and considered old. Don't let them do it. Dude, they're going to cap it all. And all y'all's value is going to drop across the board. The only thing helping you and keeping increase the value is the quarterback position. Because why are we valuing wide receivers the second most important position in football? Because of its connection to the quarterback position. You let them cap quarterback, it happened. It caps everything. Everything drops in value. Like they have to understand that. And now you're gonna let these billionaires once again get another discount on you again later on in your career after you've already proven yourself. This is not Major League Baseball. This is not the NBA. You don't have that kind of time. That's why you can't let them do it. They do it, dude. They won't stop. They'll cap it. Why wouldn't they cap wide receiver? If you cap quarterback at, let's say you cap it at 65 at the max, and then the super max, and then wide receiver, what's going to happen to wide receiver? It's going to keep ballooning in value. They're going to cap that. They don't cap them all, man. They're not going to stop.
I know. I'm with you. I'm with you on it. I just think
it's like games. They won 17 games. They won 18.
I'm with you.
And they're going to keep going. The history tells you that they will keep capping everything.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. This is the thing. I don't like the other solution though of let the quarterbacks make whatever and take it away, because it'll literally be for a Texans fan. All right, the Broncos come out. Broncos say $150 million for CJ Stroud. We'll take him. CJ, just let you know, do not re-sign with the Texans. Don't stay there. Come to Denver, $150 million. Because money's not anything to us. So it's fine. So screw the fans, screw them. We're going to build a super team. We're going to go, because it doesn't count our cap. So I think that there's issues with that too, of just allowing the haves to have everything again, and all the best quarterbacks end up in all the major markets or wherever the most money is, and teams without that can't keep a quarterback, so you never can compete for a Super Bowl basically unless you get them on a rookie, and then as soon as if they're a best player, they're gone. That I think there's issues with that as well. As a fan of the league, I'm with you. I agree that I don't think you should cap everything. And I think now I would say if you can negotiate it, which you wouldn't be able to, you put a cap, but it's all guaranteed money, then you get into a different discussion. But the NFL is not going to do that.
Try to get that for the last 20, 30 years. Yeah. You can't get that either. You can't even get health insurance.
No, I agree.
And you play the most physical sport of all of them. Somebody
and I mean, and the reality is when you look at NBA versus NFL, tell you how different it is. Christian McCaffrey signed a new deal. He makes Tim Hardaway Jr. money now.
Exactly.
Tim Hardaway Jr. didn't play 12 minutes in the NBA Finals, something like that. And most of those were.
And people were mad about that. They were mad. I was like, man, why is he in there? Get him out of there.
Yeah, he makes the same amount of money as the best running back in the league, and his is guaranteed.
Guaranteed. They can probably pull the rug from under Christian McCaffrey if they wanted to. Yeah, so I know they want to. They look at the max salary thing, the super max, and yes, I agree. There is some merit to it. It's not apples to apples. So, and you're right. They can't go with my idea of just letting owners be able to just separately pay quarterbacks outside the salary cap, because I'm sure there would be some owners that abuse that as well. They got to find a happy medium. Right now, their concern is, and maybe it is, they just kind of stick status quo and they continue to do what they're doing now, but the quarterback salaries will continue to take up more and more of the salary cap. That's just the reality of it. And maybe they cap that. Maybe they can only take up a certain amount of the cap.
Yeah, that's what when I'm saying a cap, I don't mean a stagnant. It's now $60 million. It is now a percentage of the salary. So your super max is 25%. Your max is 20%, or something to that effect.
I mean, it's still essentially you're capping it.
You are capping
it, capping the salary of it. If you say you can only make 25% of the salary cap, it's like, well, the salary cap is this. It is what it is for everybody across the league. And then you just got to cap quarterbacks at, well, you can only make this much. So you are doing it.
You are doing it, but it's also grows with the salary cap. It's no longer.
It does.
So for a Patrick Mahomes, if he signs a supermax deal, he stays the highest paid quarterback but he's tied with 6 other quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Because that's what we say. When you look at the NBA top paid players, there's 4 players at the very top. They're all paid the exact same. Then there's another level because they have less experience, and there's 4 more that are paid all the exact same because they're all on the max they can get paid. So there isn't the difference of, well, this guy's making 65 because he signed the latest deal. Your deal increases with the salary cap every single year because you say, no, you are every single time you're this percentage of our salary cap, which makes it hard to build a team, I'm sure. And that would be their no, we have to make it a number so we can build forward. But I think if I'm saying it's a cap number, it's not a number of you signed it in this year, so it's not that. It's based on the percentage of the salary cap every single time, so it can keep expanding and expanding. So a 5-year deal for the Supermax, you're always making 25% or whatever that percentage is. So it'll grow.
And this is something else we don't think about. You talk about how the Supermax for the NBA, comparing it to what the NFL would present. I mean, when you think about it too, the NBA's big money guys, they can always force trades. They can always force their way out every time. Every time a star is like, I'm unhappy. I don't want to be here. I don't like it here. I want out. And the team can try to do what they can try to negotiate. They can try to play hardball, but eventually the player will win. If he wants out, he's getting out.
Yeah.
He may not go to the place where he wants to go, but he's getting out. That doesn't happen in the NFL. It doesn't happen. You're a big money guy. They go, F you, you're staying. All right. You know your career is only 5 years, right? So good luck with that. And by the way, your money's not guaranteed, so we can take it all back if you don't play. Good luck with your little holdout. Good luck with all that. The NFL will say F you. All right. The NBA says, nah, we gotta do what this guy wants. We gotta do what the player wants. It's a player-led league. So you take that, you will always be under team control in the NFL. You're not going to have the leverage to just get to just finagle your way out of a
Yeah.
deal and finagle your way out of a situation. It's so different. The
But there-
NFL,
and
you should
I-
be,
and all like
the
this-
NFL for the players should be a cash grab. Get your money and get it now.
I will say
because
this.
it ain't guaranteed, and you don't have the longevity of those other sports.
I will say this, and I still, the NFL, the way they do dead cap on trades always blows my mind. And I don't know the official, like, it's just so complicated about how a dead cap and trades, but it's one of the main reasons why you don't see major players traded a ton, is because if you trade a big player that has 3 years left on a contract and all this signing bonus left, you're stuck with like $30 million in dead cap even after you trade the guy, because like there's all these weird parts about dead cap that you go, you just get rid of this whatever rule. I don't know why that's there. I know it's there to help the competitive balance, but it means that it basically is a reason why teams would go, well, I can't trade you, because it would not only be I lose the player, but I'm then hamstrung financially because I'm still like paying the salary cap space for the next 2-3 years. So it's this weird thing about how the salary cap set up there that I've never quite gotten why it seems archaic in today's world of where people want to be traded more, and where the fan base and everybody else goes, no, get rid of that guy. They go, well, we can't really, because we're not going to have to pay him. Like, his money's not guaranteed, but still, it's going to hurt our salary cap more. So weird.
Yeah,
it
is. I'm with you. I don't really understand exactly how it's that different, but you're right about that. It's more complicated process. There's no question about that. But my point is, the players have so much power in the NBA that they can, even with the guaranteed money, they can get their way out of situations with teams. In the NFL, it's not the case at all. I mean, you're under team control. And because of a lot of reasons, the team has a lot of leverage. Anyway, so that's one of the discussions. They want to, or at least they're considering and discussing a quarterback salary cap. So we'll get into that coming up a little bit later on. I want to talk about Dak Prescott's situation, because Ian Rappaport is reporting that there is a number that is floating around that Dak Prescott and his people are, that basically they're eyeing. It's a number that the Cowboys may have to meet in order to get this deal done. So we'll play that audio coming up a little bit later on for you. But first, let's go behind the burnt orange curtain. Next segment, talk some Texas football. On the other side, we'll talk about potential breakout candidates. There is a list of breakout candidates. Any Longhorn makes the list. I talked to a couple of Texas players yesterday. Shout out to the Third and Longhorns podcast, my man Nick Shuley and Derek Johnson and Alex Okafor, my man Fozzie Whitaker and Jeremy Hills. The whole crew actually was there and talked to a couple of Texas players. I'll give you some nuggets from those interviews, and we'll also talk about Quinn Ewers. He did an interview with RG3, and we'll play a lot more snippets from it, but a couple of things that he brought up in the interview that I want to talk about, and when we go behind the burn orange curtain and talk some Texas football. So we'll do that on the other side right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn.
And what's about our friends at Texan Windows? They're your new and replacement window experts here in Central Texas. You can discover affordable windows and sliding glass doors. If you are ready for summer, you want to get that sliding glass door in perfect condition, maybe get a new sliding glass door that makes it easy to get out to that great backyard you got, or you want to update your curb appeal, change the windows, get a better look. Maybe they're fogged up a little bit, not as clear as you want them to be. Maybe you want to change a operable window into a big picture window, make it a beautiful view of your yard. All of that you can do with Texan Windows, but it's not just about the looks.
Not just about the looks at all, Patrick. First of all, I love to save money. I'm sure you do too. And if you're a baller on a budget like me, that's also another great reason to reach out to our friends over at Texan Windows, because replacement windows can help with energy efficiency, and that will save you money on your annual energy bills. All their windows come with argon-filled double pane low E glass to help keep your house cool during those hot Texas summer days. Those triple digits are fast approaching, but also it's going to keep your house warm during those winter months as well. So in addition to saving you a lot of money, which I guarantee that's a great reason for anyone to reach out to Texas Windows, but also the safety is another great reason. The safety of your home, the safety of your family. I have a 8-month-old in the house. I've been childproofing everything in the house, and one of the things you have to childproof are the windows in the house. And sometimes it can be really tough to childproof those really old windows. They don't have the latest safety protocols. They don't have the latest technological advances in safety. That is not the case with Texan Windows. All their windows are up to date, easy to childproof, and they can help you out with that as well. And my man Patrick will help you out and let you know exactly how you can reach out to Texan Windows.
You can get to Texan Windows at TexanWindows.com, or you call 855-55-TEXAN to get a hassle-free estimate by email or over the phone, whatever is easier for you. Or you can stop by their showroom in Butte, got a new beautiful one there, or Fort Worth to check out their in-stock windows. And the time has never been better to go check out the windows at Texan Windows, because now in the month of June through July 4th, when you make the purchase of 10 replacement windows, you'll be eligible to receive a free Blackstone grill. It's nothing better getting you ready for summer than a new grill, new windows, a new look, and you're going to be happy with it. It's Texan Windows, TexanWindows.com. Texan Windows, your Central Texas window experts.
All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get to some Texas football conversation. Go behind the burnt orange curtain here. First, I want to play a cut, and we'll play more of these actually next hour. RG3 did an interview, a sit-down interview with Quinn Ewers. He talked about a lot of different things. It's probably, I don't know, probably 45 minutes long. So they got into a lot of different things. One of the cuts that I really liked, and this cut says a lot too, because he gets into a little detail that I actually was unaware of, and he talks about um, basically something they learned from Sark. That is kind of the question. What did you learn from Sark? But listen to one of the details he drops, one of the nuggets that he drops about the relationship, the play calling quarterback relationship between he and Sark. Here's Quinn Ewers.
Well, I mean, from the day I got here, I think the thing I've heard most from him is you can't go broke taking a profit, right?
Yes.
Don't try to force those deep shots because he'll call them, but he'll call more of them if he trusts you to check one down if it's not there.
True. That's true.
And obviously just him being in the position that we've been in. He played college quarterback and then went to the Canadian League, so he obviously knows. He knows what it feels like to be in our shoes, and he said it. I mean, we're getting a PhD in quarterback play here. So he's been there. He's done that. He's had, Heisman Trophy winners. He's had first-round draft picks. So, right. I mean, you'd be silly not to trust the guy.
All right. Now, I like that little nugget that he dropped in there about the deep ball and that you can't go broke taking a profit. So, essentially, I think he's letting people know that, hey, Sark, just because Sark calls a deep ball doesn't necessarily mean he needs to throw the deep ball. You need to take more of the checkdowns. I would like to know that on some of those deep shots that Texas is taking. Maybe it's Sark maybe calling the play, and Quinn, instead of taking the shot, should maybe take the profit more often, which I think he did later on, obviously last year. And I think he got more mature about it. And it just shows you right there, because obviously Sark talks about it a lot. It's ingrained or programmed in him. Hey, man, take the check down. Take the check down, especially if they're going to give it to you. We got so much speed. Teams are freaking out. They're dropping, a lot of their linebackers and their DBs back to try to keep a top on the defense and to win the numbers advantage in the passing game. Just drop and dump it off, check it down to Jonathan Brooks and take those yards. And that's So you can't go broke taking a profit. I'm glad that's a mature quarterback. That's a mature 3-year starter talking to you right there. That, hey, I'm gonna take what the defense is giving me. And I think at times, even Sark, and I think maybe Quinn too, I would love to know exactly how often it's Sark that is someone who is kind of forcing the issue as a play caller, and how often it was Quinn as a quarterback, maybe forcing some of those deeper shots downfield. But now you can still, Sark is like, hey man, just because I call it don't mean you need to throw it. Check it down. That's maturity. I like that about what he's learned from Sark. That's a veteran QB.
And I called it, but I called everyone's running routes. Like, it is not the call. Yeah. I know we said this is your number one target, but there's progressions, and you're still supposed to go through them on the deep shot. So even though there is a guy that's deep and he's your number one, that's not the play call is not necessarily always to him. Play call is to the open receiver. And so I think early on it was if this is where I want you to go, I've told you I have faith that you can make any throw. So why would you not make any throw? If you're being told your whole life you can make any throw, then you could always go for the number one, even if it's not the best throw, because you can make it.
You can make it.
And but that's not what they really mean when they say you can make any throw, because they don't mean you can throw into triple coverage and not get picked off. They mean you can throw a deep curl.
Yeah, well, you can touch every blade of grass on the football field. And just because you can make every throw doesn't mean you should make every throw on any given play. And that's kind of what the saying, hey, you can't go broke taking a profit. Take what the defense is giving you. And I think oftentimes you can be maybe as a quarterback, and I certainly think Sark does, you can almost get wrapped up in the really kind of sophisticated elegance of Sark's offense and some of the really cool route combinations. And I guess a quarterback's like, man, I'm trying to hit that deep rainbow crosser on the other side of the field. It's pretty too. I'm going to hit it, and almost kind of predetermined before the snap. Like, no. I'm going to get this open, instead of going through your progressions naturally and reading the defense and taking what the defense is giving you. No, man. This is the prettiest route, one of the prettiest routes in our playbook when we complete it. So I think he almost becomes enamored with some of those route combinations, because Sark's offense, it does have some beautiful route combinations. And this is for a receiver. I saw a stat from Sports Info Solutions about A.D. Mitchell, that he ran 37 unique routes last year.
Wow.
Unique routes. 37 different kind of routes. Think about that. I grew up in a route tree. All right. I don't remember 37 routes on the route tree. You know what I mean? I don't know if I can name you 37. It'd be really tough right now to see if I can name 37 routes. I probably could get to like maybe 20. I don't know if I can get to 37. I don't even know what he called all these routes. So it's, you know what I mean? That just shows you how, like I said, sophisticated that route tree is in the passing game is, and some of the concepts. So I can understand why a quarterback is thinking, oh, no, they haven't seen this. This is, oh, man, it's going to be wide open because he schemed it open, and this is a beautiful concept. So there can be some kind of infatuation almost.
Yeah.
As a young quarterback with some of that. Now he's a veteran. He's like, I seen it. It ain't that sexy. Trust me. You think it's like conceptually it is really sexy. Theoretically, it's great. But trust me, when it's applied on the field, it don't always work that way. You know what ends up open? This damn check down. I'm gonna take it right now. And that's, like I said, that's maturity instead of, oh no, I'm gonna hit that deep rainbow crosser right. So it hits that deep outside hash mark. It's like, no, you thought that was gonna be open. It ended up getting picked off, like you said. The safety was not fooled. You know what I mean? And but what was open was the check down, because everybody, including the defense, was also enamored with that route combination. And that's the purpose of that check down, to give the quarterback options and to present the defense with way more threats than they can defend. And the defense will always choose to defend the deeper threat before the shallow threat. You work deep to shallow as a defender automatically. I mean, why the hell wouldn't you? You want to work shallow to deep. If you do, you better have help behind you. So as a DB, we always work deep to shallow. That's why the check down is always open. We're always collapsing on the check down. Nobody's covering the check down. Check down, you ever notice? Everybody's collapsing on the check down. We rally to the check down. I mean, that's how the check down works. Nobody's covering the check down. That's nobody's job to cover a check down. No. You don't have enough. A defensive coordinator's ultimate task and conundrum is to defend more space with fewer players. How do you do it? It's an old riddle. How do you defend more space with fewer players? You got to figure it out. Well, welcome to a defensive coordinator's job. Welcome to why a defensive coordinator's life sucks, because that's exactly what you need to figure out. How do I defend more space with fewer defenders? Because more and more these days, offenses are creating more space with more threats on the field, and you got fewer defenders to defend all that space they're creating. Yeah. So solve the riddle as a defensive coordinator. That's why you come up with all these really creative, exotic schemes, because you really can't defend more space with fewer defenders. Shh, don't tell anybody. But what you can do is fool the offense into thinking you're taking certain things away. And if you can take away whatever they're trying to on any given down, take away what they're trying to achieve, then boom, that's the perfect play call to counter whatever they're doing. But that's rare that you have the perfect coverage to counter whatever they're doing. Yeah. Most of the time, you're just trying to disguise and fool them into making a mistake. And that's usually kind of where you are in the chess match of defense. But I love that quote from Quinn. It said so much about his progression and development as a quarterback. Because early on, we remember they're just chunking it deep. Sark's calling deep shots, and he's taking deep shots. And it's like, hey, I don't know if that's I don't know if that's taking what the defense is giving you, but that was a young Quinn. Now we're talking about a much more mature Quinn. Okay, so there you go. And by the way, Quinn has gotten better on his deep balls. And that's something too that I think this year you'll see more of. Matter of fact, he talked to RG3 about that, and we'll play some of that audio and hear from Quinn more next hour. All right, let's get to the another story I wanted to talk about. They listed breakout candidates. CBS College Sports did a list of breakout candidates, and one Longhorn in particular got some love. He's getting some love from a lot of different publications. Malik Muhammad was the Longhorn listed as the potential breakout candidate for the Longhorns by CBS Sports. And I'll say this about Malik Muhammad. There's a chance that Malik Muhammad, I saw a list, and Coach Akina actually was remarking on it too via Twitter and via social media, a list of the schools with the most Thorpe Awards. And Texas has 2 of them. And so they were tied for second with a lot of other schools. LSU and Oklahoma actually had the most Thorpe Awards, which 3 by each school, and it's the award given to the top defensive back. If there was the question is if there is a defensive back right now on the 40 acres who would at least be in the running for the Thorpe, could even make it to the semifinals for the Thorpe, who would it be? And I think that choice was I'll take Malik Muhammad. If I had to choose one of the DBs on the roster right now, I'm not saying they're going to win it. I was a semifinalist. I ain't win it.
Yeah.
All right. I ain't saying they're going to win it because winning it is really tough. Only two DBs at Texas, that's Aaron Ross and Michael Huff. Now, if it existed when Jerry Gray was here and Johnny Johnson was here, they'd have won it. It didn't exist at that time. But if I had to choose one DB that I think could be, listen, I love Jahdae Barron. I think Jahdae Barron's great. I don't know if Jahdae Barron makes enough plays on the football. He's a havoc-minded defender, and Jahdae Barron probably would be my second behind Malik Muhammad. He would be there too. I mean, Jahdae Barron's got a chance to make a lot of plays. He's a great football investigator. I just wonder if he'll get his hands on enough footballs. He makes a lot of plays at the line of scrimmage because of his instincts, right? He had 11 and a half tackles for loss 2 years ago. There are not a lot of DBs that in Texas football history. I think the last time you had a Texas DB have at least 11 and a half tackles for loss, I think you had to go back to like the 70s. The last time you had a DB have that many tackles for loss. It's been a long time. So he's really instinctual, and he's got great kind of just football instincts overall, athletic instincts. Like I said, I wonder if he'll get a hands on enough footballs. I know that Malik Muhammad is a havoc-minded ball hawk who'll get his hands on the football, and he'll be tested this year. I don't know, Jahdae Barron, he wasn't tested a lot last year until late in the year, where teams kind of Oklahoma State went after him a little bit. Washington went after him a little bit. So he wasn't tested until late in this year, and he's pretty sound. I think he was probably dealing with an injury. That's why they didn't have him out there during the spring. But if I had to choose one, it'd probably be Malik Muhammad. And he's getting the most love as a breakout candidate. He's got the highest coverage grade, Pro Football Focus coverage grade of any cornerback in our secondary, too, in the Texas secondary. So he would be the guy if there's going to be another Thorpe Award winner at Texas that I would choose. But like I said, Jahdae Barron, if he ends up getting a lot of, maybe 3 interceptions, because I think last year the team lead was 3. If he can lead the team in interceptions, I think he also could be a guy that goes to the semifinal round to be a Thorpe Award semifinalist. Who was the last Thorpe Award semifinalist for Texas? Maybe Deshaun Elliott. I think Deshaun Elliott actually was a semifinalist, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, there you go. So Texas football conversation. We'll come back. We got the topic for the Big Fat Poll today, and we also will get into the musically themed day of the week. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn.
Back on the Rodcast here on a Thursday morning. That means it's a new theme Thursday where we pick a theme out for you, and I'll play that theme for you all show long. The theme this week is Juneteenth, so playing some uplifting songs about the Black people. And as for Juneteenth, we have found some different music from some different playlists to put together. So we'll be playing that music for you all show long. Starting off with a little Stevie Wonder. Can't go wrong with a little Stevie Wonder. Let's get to the big fat poll of the day. 512-447-3776 is the text line number.
Patrick's big fat poll of the day on the Horn.
All right, so yesterday we talked about the free agency class of 2025 for wide receivers. But I was looking, when I was doing that, doing the research for that and going through, I was looking at the remaining free agent secondary players in this year's class, that there's still a number of good secondary players available. It's probably the deepest position still available in free agency right now. And so the question, the big fat poll of the day today, who is the best remaining free agent in the secondary in the NFL right now? I'm leaving Xavier Howard off the list. So I do not think he's going to find a team before the season starts with his scandal happening right now.
Yeah. Right.
So I do not believe he's going to find he'd probably be near the top of this list as well, but I'm going to leave him off of it right now, solely in the fact that he's probably not going to find a team, at least right now. But some of the other names that are still available for you: Jamal Adams is still available, J.C. Jackson is still available, Justin Simmons, Quandre Diggs, Stephon Gilmore, Patrick Peterson, Adoree Jackson, all available still. Some of these guys a little bit older, so you get maybe it's the age issue. That Jamal Adams is only 28, though. J.C. Jackson is only 28. So there's some of these guys that are not. Adoree Jackson, only 28. So some of these guys are not necessarily over the hill. They're still, I mean, they're getting up there for a football player, but definitely not.
I think they reset. I think these owners, they're not going to admit it. I think they got together, whether you want to say it's collusion or what, but they reset the DB market.
Oh, 100%.
They did it in one off season too. It's crazy. And I asked Quandre Diggs about it. He said that he believes that they got
no. I mean, we saw Steven Nelson could have been on this list, but he retired.
Yeah, he's like, no, I'm good.
He's like, if you're not going to pay me, it's not worth it anymore. I've already got.
And he had like one of his best years too.
Yeah, one of his best years, but it's like I'm not going to go through the stress. I'm sure if someone offered him a contract, he may listen to the contract offer. But at this point, if they're lowballing him, it's easier to walk away. But that is, so there's still a bunch of names available. We know how the NFL works as well, that they want to reset everything. They're going to, but as we get into the season and as teams are getting smoked in the secondary, his teams get everybody needs. I remember Mina Kimes had a thing before the draft when they were talking about who needs what, or before free agency. And it was, well, about 29 of the 30 teams need secondary. So we can kind of leave that off our list of team needs. That everybody needs secondary. Everybody wants help in the secondary. And there's still a lot of good names available. So the big fat poll today, who is the best remaining free agent in the secondary?
Honestly, Stephon Gilmore's in the conversation.
Gilmore's in there?
Just had him. He's in that conversation.
I mean,
he is.
J.C. Jackson, I think, is in that conversation.
J.C. Jackson's in that conversation. He's a good one.
Justin Simmons was all right.
Yeah.
Jamal Adams is getting a little bit, but Jamal Adams is.
Yeah, he's more of a hybrid linebacker / safety to me. He's a liability in coverage. And he's on for the right system. You got to find the right system for him, and I think he'd be really good. But I don't like him for that skill set to translate into any system.
You don't like him in Washington?
No, in Washington
with Dan Quinn.
Ooh, that's interesting. Actually, I never thought about that. Yeah, he is a hybrid, and Dan Quinn would know how to use him. That's not bad. If he came at the right price, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's not bad. That's a good idea, actually. But yeah, I think right now I'm like leaning Gilmore. I got to look at the list again. But Gilmore, and you're right, J.C. Jackson's a good one. Gilmore's a former defensive player of the year, and last year had a good year.
Yeah, he did.
The Cowboys. He had a really good year with the Cowboys. Cowboys probably would have brought him back, but I mean, you had an All-Pro that was coming off an injury, and then you just had a young, late round pick make another All-Pro. That it would seem to be, ill-advised, not necessarily financially responsible of them to bring Stephon Gilmore back because you had pieces at cornerback. But I don't know. That's a great question, man. They definitely reset the DB market too, and I don't know why. Maybe it's like they can give that money to wide receivers. I have no idea why they reset it so drastically, but it happened like in one off season.
Yeah,
and we were all like, "Why the hell are they cutting all these DBs?"
They cut everybody and then have not signed a lot of them.
And that's not a lot of it. No, that's how you depress the market.
Yeah, and then
you cut them, and then you don't sign any of them.
Well, and then the ones they did sign lesser deals. There wasn't the big deals being signed. So the guys that just wanted a job, came in for less, and they reset it pretty quickly.
And I know Quandre was close to retiring because he was talking about it. I wouldn't doubt if he gets so frustrated with the process that he may decide, I'm good.
I think a lot of these guys, I don't know them personally, but I'd say a lot of them, it wouldn't surprise me if they say, well, let's wait it out a little bit. I don't mind not going to, the OTAs and all of that. And then, if in preseason someone calls, then that makes it a little bit easier because now I don't have to go through all that process. So
you're right, especially old vets, they hate.
All these guys that are in their 30s now being like, I don't want to do all that. Tell me when to show up, and I'll show up and we'll play.
That's true. No, you're right about that. I'll work myself into shape. I'll play myself into shape.
Yeah,
I'll be ready to go. All right. Now, that's a good question, man. I remember when that happened with the DB market. I'm not sure. I don't have an explanation as to why the NFL would be trying to reset the DB market. I don't think it was exploding by any stretch, but it. I say I'm not a billionaire. I'm not an executive in the NFL, but I notice trends, and everybody knows it's pretty clear. Even the players themselves have talked about it. Something happened with the DB market over the last year, and they don't know exactly why that's the case. But we know something happened with the wide receiver market too, and maybe that's just for one position to get that much inflation in value. You maybe just got to have a natural depression of another position in value. But it's just how the market's going to work there. All right, we'll come back. We'll get into some Texas football conversation because Quinn Ewers spoke with RG3 in an interview. We'll play some of that sound audio and talk a little Texas football. Also, I don't think we've given Nico Collins enough credit for how good he was last year with the Texans. We'll discuss that. I'll give you a fact about Nick Caserio that I guarantee you didn't know, or at least you haven't thought about. That could be really interesting. And we'll dive into a stat about play action pass and regular drop back. We'll talk about we will compare the two, like the regular drop backs and the passer rating for quarterbacks and regular drop back situations. And when they're using the cheat code of play action pass, Dak stands out in this comparison in a very peculiar, strange way. Not saying it's bad, not saying it's good, but he's an outlier when you're making that comparison. And we'll talk about that on the other side when we get into Rod's rant of the day. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis, coming right back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a new theme Thursday edition of the Rodcast. That's when Patrick, the Idealionaire, he plays different jams that salute and celebrate whatever the creative theme that he comes up with. And because we just celebrated Juneteenth, the theme for New Theme Thursday is Happy Juneteenth to everybody out there. So all these songs celebrate the African American people and their celebration of Juneteenth yesterday. Well, they don't all mention it, but you get the point. Very in that mood.
Yes.
All these songs are very celebratory. So we appreciate Patrick always coming up with the musically themed days of the week. Also, he comes up with the topic for the Big Fat Poll today. This one is close to my heart. A position that I played seems to be going through a bit of a market shift. The defensive back position. And Patrick, give the folks the topic for the Big Fat Poll of the day.
Big Fat Poll of the day. Who is the best remaining free agent in the secondary? A couple names out there: Jamal Adams, J.C. Jackson, Justin Simmons, Quandre Diggs, Stephon Gilmore, Patrick Peterson, Adoree Jackson, just to name a few that are still available.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. Quandre. I thought Quandre would get picked up because I figure Quandre would be pretty cost effective for a team. I don't think he's going to be demanding top dollar. Because I know he's trying to get just one more contract before he retires, and maybe that is the issue. Maybe they know that he's toward the end of his career. He's had a great career so far, but yeah, a lot of really good DBs, a lot of really good DBs and really good wide receivers, veteran wide receivers. We had this conversation earlier this week for a topic for the Big Fat Poll today about the veteran wide receivers that will be available next season. In the free agent pool, and this season you got a lot of free agent DBs, really good veteran. I think some guys who have been former defensive player of the year. Stephon Gilmore is in that group, and I think he might be at the top of my list. Just kind of way he played last year with the Cowboys. I thought he played really well with the Cowboys. The other Cowboys were going to bring him back. They thought about it, just didn't make sense. Between Deron Bland having an all-pro year, and then before him, Trevon Diggs having an all-pro year at corner. I mean, you're pretty low. You could argue you have the best cornerback duo in the league. Yeah, bringing in Stephon Gilmore, maybe that's an embarrassment of riches, but he played really well last year. So I think he might be at the top of that list for me among those corners, among those defensive backs you're talking about. All right, that's the topic for the Big Fat Poll today. We also get to some other NFL news, notes, and nuggets in this segment. I want to talk about the Texans a little bit. There are two little nuggets that I want to share about the Texans. First of all, I don't think we've appreciated how good Nico Collins was last year, or maybe I didn't. So I'll give you a couple of stats that'll highlight and put into perspective how good he was. And then we'll dive into a factoid that I didn't really, at least I haven't thought about when it comes to the Texans leadership, that really could hopefully foreshadow future success for the Texans. We'll dive into that a little bit later on. We also have Quinn Ewers talking to RG3. So we'll play those cuts. We got about 4 audio cuts. So we'll talk a little Texas football there. And in Rod's rant, I have passer ratings for the top 34 quarterbacks in the NFL in terms of their passer ratings in regular straight drop back situations, and then their passer ratings in play action pass situations. We'll compare the two, and in that comparison, Dak stands out in a very peculiar way because he becomes an outlier in that comparison. We'll talk about why that is, and then also we'll look at some of the other quarterbacks in straight drop back situations and then play action pass situations. It's pretty interesting because that's considered a cheat code, and the kind of the logic is, or the common belief is, that all quarterbacks are better when they use play action pass, and that's usually the case. That you're more effective, yards per attempt go up, everything goes up, everything's more efficient when using play action pass. But some of these numbers don't necessarily reflect that. So we'll do that when we go into Rod's rant of the day. All right, but let's first hit the Horn headlines. So let's get educated, let's get updated, and let's get informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines.
All right, Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In Major League Baseball, the Astros evened their series with the White Sox with a 4-1 win yesterday. Hunter Brown was able to give 6 innings, only allowing 1 run, getting his 4th win of the season. Cesar Salazar had 2 RBI hits in what would be only his 2nd appearance for the Astros this season, with Dubon and McCormick adding the other run support. The Astros wrap up the series today in a day game with Spencer Arguetti taking the mound. And the Rangers salvage a game in their series with the Mets. They 5-3 victory. Jose Urena gets the win after pitching 2 innings in relief after Leody Taveras hit a go-ahead 2-run homer. Wyatt Langford gets credit for 2 RBIs, one early on a hit by pitch with the bases loaded, and a big single in the 6th to tie the game. The Rangers now get a day off before starting their weekend series with the Royals tomorrow, and that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. Patrick, could you please get those Quinn Ewers cuts ready? I think we'll do those first, and then we'll kind of dissect what Quinn Ewers had to say in his talk with RG3, and then we'll get into my rant because I want to get into the Dak Prescott outlier conversation when it comes to comparing his passer rating in play action pass situations and in straight drop back situations. I think that's going to be pretty fun. And we haven't got to, speaking of Dak, we haven't gotten to the Dak contract update, the Dak Prescott contract negotiations update. We will do that too, because Ian Rappaport was on NFL Network, and he claims there's a number that Dak Prescott's people may be eyeing in regards to his new contract extension with the Cowboys. Hopefully it's a contract extension with the Cowboys. All right, but first let's get these Quinn Ewers cuts from his time with RG3. Did an interview earlier this week. We played this cut earlier, but I love it. I think it introduces a great conversation about Quinn's maturity as a quarterback and the relationship he has with Sark as the play caller. So he was asked by RG3, hey, what have you learned from Steve Sarkisian? Here is Quinn Ewers.
Well, I mean, from the day I got here,
we're just going order.
I think the thing I've heard most from is you can't go broke taking a profit, right?
Yes.
Don't try to force those deep shots because he'll call them, but he'll call more of them if he trusts you to check one down if it's not
That's
there,
true. That's true.
And obviously just him being in the position that we've been in. He played college quarterback and then went to the Canadian League, so he obviously knows what it feels like to be in our shoes. And he said it. I mean, we're getting a PhD in quarterback play here. So he's been there. He's done that. He's had, Heisman Trophy winners. He's had first-round draft picks. So, right. I mean, you'd be silly not to trust the guy.
I love that insight. A couple of things there. First of all, start telling them, hey, man, take the check down. Can't go broke taking a profit. Take the check down. Take what the defense is giving you. That's maturity. And I love that he talked about the give and take between he and Sark. Sark's calling these really elaborate, exotic passing concepts, right? These beautiful route combinations that have probably have this young quarterback enamored, and he's probably infatuated trying to, oh man, I can make, and he's got the golden arm. I can make every throw on the football field. And Sark's dialing up and scheming open these beautiful rainbow crossers to the deep to the opposite hash, and I can make these beautiful throws. And I do think early on in his time in this offense with Sark, there was some infatuation and him really becoming enamored with, hey, I have the ability to make that throw. Just because you can make every throw doesn't mean you should make every throw. And I think he was always looking for that deeper vertical route because, of course, it's sexy, all right, to complete that deeper vertical route. Nothing sexy about a check down. And as a quarterback, I think a young quarterback almost takes it as an L sometimes. The check down, like, the defense beat me. I gotta check it down. And it's like, no. The play was designed to force the defense to allocate resources to cover the vertical routes, keep a top on the defense, drop back. And remember, we always, and Sark knows this, we rally to check downs. There's nobody ever covering a check down on defense. It doesn't happen that way. You rally to a check down. All right. You actually, that's how everybody has to do it. You notice when somebody throws a check down, the defense is rallying up to the football. You go from deep to shallow as a defender. You prioritize deep to shallow. So the check down, in theory, if the routes and if the route combinations are vertical enough and you get enough time, that check down will be open to get some yards because we're always going to be rallying to it. And if you got a really good player taking a check down like a Jonathan Brooks, you got to break one tackle, and then a 2-3 yard gain goes to being a 5-6 yard gain.
Yeah.
And that's the maturity in it, taking what the defense is giving.
No, and it's we know because there's always the players like Matt Leinart and guys like that would go in and we'd be like, oh, check down Kings. And that dude, all he does is check down and he checked down. And you go, there's a big difference between checking down when it's the right thing to do and always checking down. So I get in somebody's head, you just think, man, I've checked down 3 times. You go, 14 plays. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I know you're thinking, I don't want to do it a 4th time, but that's fine because it's the right play to do it. The problem is if it's on 1st down, 2nd down, and 3rd down, you check down every time, then we might need to start figuring out either the play calling. Are you not going through progressions properly? Are the wide receivers not getting separation? Are we, what is it that's happening? But if you're throwing, once every 4 or 5 passes a check down, that's okay because you're keeping the chains moving. Everything's going the way it needs to move. But I get why there's a stigma with it. Especially for young quarterbacks, that they don't want to just fall into that realm of, no, I always take the safe pass. Sometimes you got to force you to go, yeah, but there's a difference of hitting a guy on a crossing route that's, 8 yards downfield that's open and checking it down. You just hit if that's your 3rd progression, he's open, hit that guy. And that's not a check, and you're good. And then, if come down and nothing's open, you went through all your progressions, then check down. No one's going to be mad at you because then when you look at the game film.
You went through the progression. If somebody's open within the progression, then, hey, you know what? That's where you go. And if that happens to be the check down, it's the check down.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think I agreed with the stat earlier. Sports Info Solutions, they, with their data science, they found that AD Mitchell ran 37 unique routes last year. Like, this is how sophisticated Sark's passing game is. 37 unique routes. I probably cannot name you more than 20 routes on the route tree. I didn't even know there were 37 routes on the route tree. So just to let you know how a young quarterback could become, like I said, infatuated with this passing game and all the different vertical elements of it, instead of, instead of just taking the check down, taking what the defense is giving you, there's, I think, for young quarterbacks like Quinn, and he just kind of admitted it, a tendency to force it. Because I really want to complete that. This is one of my favorite plays, my favorite concepts. I really want to complete this ball. And what you realize as a veteran quarterback, he's a 3rd-year starter now, theoretically and conceptually, you realize this in defense too. Some things, they look cool in the playbook and they sound really cool when you're breaking them down in game planning for a team. And then you realize in the game that it doesn't apply. Like, it's not applicable, and it doesn't necessarily translate all the time. And I've had defensive coordinators come up with these really elaborate game plans and these really elaborate concepts and literally in the game trash it because it did not apply. It was all theory and it was conceptual, but it wasn't applicable. And I think Quinn knows that now about some of those routes that he may have been enamored with as a young player. It's like, yeah, it may be there, but most of the time it's just going to clear out for the underneath route. Yeah. Or most of the time it's just going to take the safety away so that I can look at the second read in my progression. Yeah. Every now and then, though, hey, you know what? That safety bit on the underneath. Hey, he went shallow to deep. That deep rainbow crosser is wide open, and then everybody's happy about it. Or Sark in his opening script, in his first 40 plays, we know now he scripts his first 40 plays, which is crazy. He schemed open specifically that play. And you guys have been working on that play for 4 months leading up to the Bama game and going, I'm telling you, this guy's going to be wide open, guaranteed. This is where you go with the football. And you got that kind of thorough game planning. Yes. First read, wide window throws, schemed open by Sark. Yeah. When you're going through progressions, man, ain't nothing wrong with taking that profit.
Well, no, and it also, I think that's progression of playing enough games against different teams that when you practice, it may get open in practice. And you say, I hit this pass 10 times in practice because that DB doesn't guard. And the way we play defense, it's one-on-one, man coverage, and my guy can beat that guy. And then you get in the game and they double him or they send a whatever they do. And all of a sudden the DB can guard your wide receiver on that play. And you think, well, in practice, I hit that 10 times in a row. I can throw it now. They're playing a different defense.
Exactly. Different athlete, different corner. Like you said, different corner, different tendencies. And it's up to you to adapt on the fly. So I love that quote. Here's another one from Quinn when he's asked about what makes Sark so unique as a coach. And I think this kind of goes back to something we discussed earlier this week. in his interview with Joe Klatt, the culture of vulnerability. Quinn here, I believe, discusses something along the same sentiment. Here's Quinn, yours.
Well, I think, obviously he's been through a good amount of stuff. He's had some tough adversity. Right. He's been through ups and downs, and I think it's rare, but I think it's been cool to see him just come out like a lot better on the other end, I guess I should say. Just the way that he's able to connect with us. He said, he talks with us all the time about, kind of what he's been through, and we can kind of lean on him when we're going through things because, he allows that. And it's just cool to see a head coach, act the way that he does on like a player to coach level.
Right. Do you think him sharing those moments with you guys makes him more human to you and not just a head coach?
100%. 100%. Because I know most guys would not want to talk about their past. And I think he's comfortable in his own shoes and in his own skin that he can share those things. And I think that just brings the whole team closer. We're like, okay, our coach isn't perfect, so I think that allows us to have no fear of failure on the field and off the field.
There you go. I think he's also referencing that culture of vulnerability, talking about how Sark's been through some things. So for the players, they don't really have a fear of failure as a result of that, of them being vulnerable, knowing that he has obviously had fall from grace at one point and able to come back now and achieve so much and accomplish a lot of his goals as a coach. Kind of gives them a great story of perseverance to look up to with Sark and a living example. So he is the culture. The culture, we talked about the secret sauce earlier this week. It's the culture of vulnerability. That's the secret sauce. All the guys see his story. They see him tell his story. They're encouraged to tell their own stories and telling their own stories. Their teammates know them on a personal level. So the connection with the players and between the players is more intimate and is on a human level, not just player to player and player to coach, because the coaches also know the player stories and players know the coach's stories. So on days where guys need a pick me up, or when you see a player who is matching or going above and beyond when it comes to the intensity and the work ethic, they go back to their story as well to either encourage them or support them. And it's pretty powerful stuff. It's like I said, I talked to Trey Wisner yesterday. I talked to Silas Bowden yesterday, a couple of the players, and Trey Wisner was talking about it as well, talking about how the culture Wednesdays and how these players, they are connected on a different level because of every year Sark is recreating this culture of vulnerability, and every year he's telling his story. The players are telling their stories. Everybody's got different stories because it's a different team, and they bond and connect over those true authentic stories and their struggles, and talking about how they got to where they are. And as a team, and they talk about it every Wednesday. They do it at a Culture Wednesdays every week, and he talks about how it brings them closer. And he said they break out in groups, and the groups are not just position groups, and they're not just based on their classification. They're just in random groups, coaches, players, and every Culture Wednesdays, they're in different random groups. So it's never just DBs to the DBs, running backs, wide receivers. It never just your same coach. You get different coach, different players, and they break out into these little groups, separate groups. And then they have Culture Wednesdays where they talk about whatever is on their mind and their heart, or gratitude trees, whatever the exercise is for their day. And they bond about other football. It's pretty powerful.
No, makes sense. It makes sense to spread it out so there's not as much, animosity.
Clicks, right?
You got clicks, animosity between offense and defense, and it just be like, oh no, man, guys trying to, they're trying to take my spot, or they're getting too much credit, and blah blah blah. No. Everybody's fighting for everybody.
Yep. No, yeah, I was really impressed because I'm trying to get some more details about this Culture Wednesday thing. So I'm asking different players, like asking, hey, so give me a couple of details about it. Lasts about an hour, and they always come in with a new theme. So I think last week they did a gratitude tree, and then they break out into groups, and then they, whatever the exercise is, gratitude tree, they just, perform the exercise, and they just bond and talk. There's no football though. No football, no X's and O's. Don't really talk about football. Just want to talk about you as a human being. Just pretty interesting. Okay, let's hear it from Quinn. Once again, he was asked his favorite win so far as the starting quarterback at the University of Texas. Probably no surprise what his answers were. Here's Quinn yours.
Favorite win? I mean, I feel like there could be two. First, I think my first year that game against OU, that 49-0.
Yep, Red River Rivalry.
That was a lot of fun. I think everybody got to play too, which makes that even better.
I like it.
And then going to Alabama last year and getting that one done. I mean, just the last drive of the game, I think that just says a lot about how we carry ourselves here. Hold the ball for 7 minutes in the game.
Yeah.
It's hard to do.
It's hard to do, especially in Tuscaloosa. I mean, I see you grinning. I see you grinning over there. That was a big win, man. Like,
win.
Yeah, it was the biggest. He didn't even mention the Big 12 title game. And he didn't mention the championship games. Like, no, I did. No. And so he said Texas OU because we know Texas OU, that's your rival. And then he said beating Bama because we haven't had a win that big at Texas in a long time. I mean, that's the biggest win at Texas in how long? I mean,
a while. A long while.
You're talking about a decade plus you had a win that big. I mean, I know you beat Georgia in 2018, but it wasn't as big as that. It wasn't as big as beating Bama in Tuscaloosa.
No, because that was Sugar Bowl with that was a great win. It was awesome.
It was a great win.
I wouldn't take anything away from it, but it wasn't. It was a bowl game. It was a bowl game that there was no factor after it. Where Alabama was, okay, now we're competing for something. It elevated Texas to be able to compete and get to, the college football playoff and get to the Final Four. And that's why that was big. Whereas Sugar Bowl, awesome, great, but that's the end of the season.
Yeah. Like I said, you got to go back a long way since Texas had to win that damn big. That's actually, I don't know if we even had that conversation.
I mean, especially too, a regular season win.
Like I said, you got to go back a long ways.
I mean, maybe a Texas OU game somewhere, or a Texas A&M game somewhere.
It's got to be a Texas OU game in there. Maybe the 08 one, but the 08 one, like I said, now I'm thinking about it, that win was really big. You probably got to go because even those 09 wins, 08, 09 wins, I mean, they were that 08 probably the last time you had to go back to a win because remember
Ohio
08
State
was
game?
Coming out for 07.
Way back.
Yeah, you could if you want to. You can go back that far if you want to.
I mean, I'm trying to think of
maybe 08 was probably it's definitely during the peak of Texas where you had a win that was
I can tell you the one that felt like it was at at the time was that Notre Dame game.
I know it.
That was the one that at the time, man, that celebration was big. And
it was not at all. Talk about a Fugazi.
I remember that.
Oh man, that was just it was not. That was not real. Yeah. It turns out that Georgia one, that was a bit of an illusion too, because we're back and we were not back. Yeah. We were not back at the time. Okay, one more cut here from Quinn. Let's actually lead us into the conversation for Rod's rant, which we'll just table for next segment. But he was asked by Quinn, by RG3, about his prowess as a play action pass quarterback. Because Quinn is actually one of the best. First of all, he led the Power 5 in play action pass dropbacks last season. Led the Power 5. So nobody using more play action pass than Quinn. And he's really good at it. If you go look at his Pro Football Focus rating grade, I should say, on play action passes, he's 8th in play action pass Pro Football Focus grade. He was 2nd in Pro Football Focus grade on RPOs. He's really good in sleight of hand, that kind of stuff, the deception-based passing game. Outside of that, though, straight dropbacks, a little different. 83rd in Pro Football Focus grade on non-play action pass dropbacks last season. And even returning, that would put him in the fringe top 50 quarterbacks in non-play action pass situations. But here is RG3 asking him, hey, what makes you so good at play action pass?
Well, I think we're good at it, and we love running the ball, I think. Right. And that obviously helps out a whole lot. A good run game is a quarterback's best friend.
It's true.
So, having a match up and look the same is always going to help me. And I think that I've gained a lot of confidence in pushing the ball down the field, and having to fit the ball in when in smaller windows when I have to, and like you said, taking the check down. Because I mean, I remember in the Big 12 championship game, I took a couple check downs, and I think I had 30 or 40 yards just off check downs. So that alone is huge.
There you go. He's good at it because they run the football out. Yeah, Sark will make you allocate resources to stop the run, but he is good at it. He's just naturally gifted. Sark's two of the physical attributes he looks for in the quarterback: accuracy, number one, and he always says quick hands. And I think the reason he's looking for quick hands, he wants basically, it's almost like a magician, sleight of hand. Right, he's looking for somebody that can have good sleight of hand as a quarterback in the RPO game when they're manipulating the mesh point for the play action pass, when you're trying to hide the football and you have to sometimes turn your back on the defense and with the play action pass, and sometimes the play action pass now with the shotgun, it's a little different as well. And you want to have sleight of hand where you can manipulate the football from one hand to the other while trying to slightly hide it from the defense. Play action pass it's a great quote. I don't know if you ever seen a Prestige.
It's the one with
by the magician.
The magician movie.
Yeah, it's a magician movie. It's kind of cheesy, but I actually liked it. It's a great part in the Prestige where it's a great quote. And he basically says every great magic trick consists of 3 parts or acts. First part is called the pledge. The magician shows you something ordinary, a deck of cards, a bird, whatever. And he shows you this object, and then perhaps lets you inspect it, lets you look at it, wants you to see it. Right? And then the second act is called the turn. The magician takes the ordinary something and turns it into something extraordinary, or makes it disappear. Like, boom, it's gone. Like, oh, where'd it go? Where'd the bird go? Where'd the lady go? Whatever. And then ultimately, there is what they call the prestige. That's the hardest part. And that's when you make it reappear. So making something disappear isn't enough. You got to make it reappear. That's when you ultimately finish the trick. That's play action pass in a nutshell. You're going to make them think it's a run. All right. Let them see the football. You want to show it to them. Look at the quarterback. Show him the football. Show it to him. Show him the football. And then take it away. And then the football disappears. Where's the football? Hold on. I thought the quarterback had it. He didn't have it. Oh, what? But then there's the pledge. All right. And then at the end, the prestige, you got to bring it back. Boom, quarterback, downfield, they see it. All right. It's football's version of a magic trick. And Quinn is a great magician. When we come back, we'll talk about the great magicians at the NFL level, because I have passer ratings for the best play action pass quarterbacks and the best quarterbacks in drop back. Interesting when you see the outlier that Dak Prescott is in this comparison. So we'll look at CJ Stroud. We'll look at all the quarterbacks, but of course we care about Dak Prescott and CJ Stroud. Dak Prescott, this number to me sets him apart and shows you why he finished second in the MVP voting too. We'll dive into that on the other side right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn, Rod Babers here. Austin is a great city, even with the traffic. It's still one of the best cities in America and one of the fastest growing cities in America. And as our city continues to grow and thrive, so do our friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482. Many of the iconic landmarks we love in this city were created and built by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local 482, like the Pennybacker Bridge and DKR Stadium. The folks over at Ironworkers Local 482 don't just go to the office, they build it. So if you're looking for an exciting employment opportunity, or you want a refreshing career change, or maybe you want a new challenge or you want to feel valued by your employer, you can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local 482. And right now it's the perfect time to do it. They're hiring over 3,000 people for a huge project right here in Central Texas. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, and a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. So right now it's the perfect time for you to become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that helps shape the future of our great city. To go online and apply today, just go to ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get to Rod's rant of the day. And I was looking at a breakdown of passer ratings in play action pass situations for the top 34 quarterbacks last season and a passer rating for straight drop back situations. And one thing stood out that was just glaring to me. And Dak Prescott, who, by the way, so just the common belief is that every quarterback is better in play action situations, that all of their numbers become more efficient and more effective in play action pass situations because you can just fool the defense. And the defense, it doesn't even matter if your running game is effective or not. Your running game does not have to be effective. All the analytics have shown that even with a lackluster running game, play action pass still works. It is. It's it's like cleavage. It'll all you need is a peak, and that's all it's designed to do. Get you to peak, and once they got you to peak, then it's that it served its purpose. And when they do that for the back seven, then they occupy the eyes. And if they occupy your eyes, they are trying to, bring something in behind you or trying to occupy your eyes for a reason, so that they can achieve usually some type of deception. All right. So it may be trying to fool you or maybe trying to fool somebody else in the defense. And so all of the analytics say that most quarterbacks, there are exceptions to the rule, most quarterbacks, they are more effective out of play action pass. Also, like I said, you don't necessarily need a great running game for your play action pass to be effective. All the analytics say it's effective even at the beginning of the game when teams have not established a run. It's effective at the end of the game when teams have no running game at all. The only thing that really makes play action pass less effective is when you got a huge lead. And sometimes teams just don't respect it when you're coming back from 20 something points down. That may be the only thing that affects it. So looking at that and keeping that in mind, Dak Prescott last year had his best season ever, finished second in MVP voting, and was a second team All-Pro. He actually has the highest drop back passer rating in the NFL last season. Matter of fact, only 3 quarterbacks were able to have at least 100 passer rating or higher in drop back passer rating, just straight drop backs, no play action pass, no deception, just straight drop back situations. Only 3 quarterbacks had a passer rating of 100 or more. And they were Brock Purdy, Kirk Cousins, and Dak Prescott. Brock Purdy was a 100.6. Kirk Cousins passer rating in straight drop back situations 101.9, and Dak Prescott 107.7. Dak Prescott's 107.7 actually is better than half the list, more than half of this list of quarterbacks in their play action passer ratings. His straight drop back passer rating is higher than 19, I believe it is. Nope, take it back. It's 15. He's higher than 15 of the quarterbacks on this list play action passer rating, which that doesn't even make sense. That's how good Dak Prescott was last year. Now, Dak Prescott's play action passer rating is a 95. When you look at quarterbacks on this list who had at least a 95 in both play action passer rating and straight drop back passer rating, you end up with four QBs in that. Yes, basically with a 95 in both, like Dak. And it's Kirk Cousins, Brock Purdy makes it. CJ Stroud makes it. Oh, he barely made. He's a 95.1 drop back passer rating, 122.7 play action passer rating. So CJ Stroud makes it. Brock Purdy makes it. Kirk Cousins. And how about this? One of these things is not like the other. Derek Carr made it among that group. That I did not expect to see. 95.7 straight drop back passer rating, 108.9 play action passer rating. So only 4 QBs with at least a 95 passer rating in both play action pass, straight drop back. Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr. Sorry, 5 because Dak Prescott's in there. Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, CJ Stroud, Brock Purdy, and Dak Prescott. And only, if you look at it, only 3 quarterbacks with 100+ passer rating in straight drop back situations, because that's the toughest thing to do. The toughest thing to do in the NFL is straight drop back. And it's straight drop back on 3rd and long or 2nd and long. Straight drop backs is the toughest thing to do because you're in a predictable pass situation. Everybody knows what you're going to do. I was told by a defensive coordinator, that's when the odds finally flip in favor of the defense is 3rd and long, 3rd and 7+ yards to go. And there's even a stat from the FBS level that says that basically teams average more yards per play than yards to gain on 3rd down until 3rd and 7. On 3rd and 6, teams average 5.8. 3rd and 5, they average over 5 yards. 3rd and 4, average over 5 yards. 3rd and 3, average over 5 yards. 3rd and 2, average over 4 yards. 3rd and 1, average over 4 yards. This is from 2022. So it's a little old, but not that old. But on 3rd and 7, teams only average 5.8 yards per play, the college level. So that's when finally the odds flip in your favor is third and long. Because third and long, everybody knows what you're gonna do. You gotta pass on 3rd and 7+. And unless you're going to go for it on 4th down, then, hey, man, maybe you can decide, hey, I'm getting half that yardage and I can run the football. Texas sometimes will do that with Bijan and Rojo. But usually teams are going to be in straight drop back situations when you're in 3rd and 7+. Hell, when you're in 3rd and 10+ yards to go, 3rd and double digits, we talked about that with CJ Stroud. He led the NFL in conversions of 3rd and 10+ yards to go and in passing situations. He had 14 passes that were converted on 3rd and 10+ yards to go situations. And for a rookie, that is unheard of because that is a straight drop back situation. That is the toughest thing to do for a quarterback in the NFL because the pass rush, they're teeing off on you because they don't have to worry about the run. DBs know wide receivers got to get to a certain depth. So that means you can't do quick game. You can't do 3-step drop. No, you're getting back to at least 5 steps in that drop. That means the pass rush got more time to get there. Defensive coordinator knows that you're going to throw it. So he's dialing up the pressure. You take the unpredictability out of it, and everybody knows exactly what you're going to do, and you still got to convert. That's the toughest thing to do. So straight drop back to be a Dak at a 107.7 straight drop back passer rating, since Dak is out there dealing. Dak's was on a whole other level last year. Like I said, only 14 quarterbacks play action passer rating was higher than his straight drop back passer rating. That's cold blooded. Now here's something to think about. There were 7 quarterbacks whose passer rating, a lot, and Dak is included in this, whose passer rating in straight drop back situations was higher than their play action passer rating, which that defies logic. Like we just told you, usually it's a cheat code that helps all quarterbacks in all of their different metrics. Here are the quarterbacks who had higher drop back passer ratings than they had play action passer ratings. Kyler Murray, kind of fits. Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Jalen Hurts, Sam Howell, Baker Mayfield, and Dak Prescott. They're kind of the outliers that don't make a lot of sense. It's a good stat to have as long as your passer rating isn't low either way. It just shows you that. I mean, those quarterbacks may be a little underrated when it comes to just the toughest situation in football, which is, hey, just drop back and see if you can dissect and take apart this defense in a straight drop back situation. So there you go. That's like I said, Dak stands out here because of that 107.7 pass rating in straight dropback situations. You just don't get that. I have to go back and look historically and see how many quarterbacks recently have had that good of a passer rating in straight dropback situations. And by the way, not enough love given to Purdy. If you want to talk about quarterbacks who have a triple-digit passer rating as a play-action passer and a dropback passer, Brock Purdy right now is the only one I see. Speaking of, he right now he's the only. Oh, I take that back. Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins also made it. So there are 2 QBs on this list that had triple-digit passer ratings for both straight drop back and play-action passer rating. Kirk freaking Cousins and Brock Purdy. Kirk Cousins had a hell of a year last year.
He got paid for it.
He did get paid for it. He did get paid, but there you go. I mean, Brock Purdy. See, Brock Purdy's going to get paid, man. Because Brock Purdy's got some stats to back it up. He's been to a Super Bowl already, too. Brock, I don't know when exactly he's up. It's going to be, I think, another year, maybe so after this season.
Yeah, it's because they couldn't give him an extension because of because he got drafted too late. So they had to wait longer than they normally would have. Like,
your first round pick.
I think they were like, hey, man, we would have already paid him if we could have because we knew the money's going to keep going up.
Yeah, they're smarter than the Cowboys. They're like, we're going to pay him as soon as we can. I wouldn't doubt if he gets paid right after the regular season is over. Like literally the day after the regular season is done, even going into the playoffs, the 49ers are like, no, we signed that deal. Because I think that's when the deadline is. They can sign him right after the regular season is over. I think they'll do it right then before. And we don't know what's going to happen with Dak, but before any of these other deals get done, the Jordan Love deals and all those kind of deals. All right, there you go. So that's some discussion about the play-action passer rating and the straight drop-back passer rating in the NFL last season. All right, we come back. We'll get into what the facts, what the stats. I got a fact. I want to share it about the Texans, but you know what? I will do it in what the facts, what the stats. We'll do that on the other side and have a little fun in that segment talking about the Houston Texans. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into some what the facts, what the stats here on the Rodcast. All right, I got a couple of factoids that I wanted to share. First one is about the Texans. Actually, I saw this conversation Nick Casario was having, and I forget the young lady's name. It's being interviewed, and they were talking about how many Super Bowl rings he had. He's got. I didn't realize. I did realize it, but I just hadn't thought about it. That he has six Super Bowl rings. He's got 6 of them. Nick Casario actually right now, and I'm sure it's him and some other folks, but he's in a unique position because he's now the GM of the Texans. He's in like the top 5 of basically right now of active folks with Super Bowl rings. Top 5, like most Super Bowl rings for active either coaches, executives, or players. Because Tom Brady's got the most.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's retired. He's got 7. Belichick, sorry, he's got the most for a player with 7. Belichick's got the most for anybody. He's got 8. He's got 6 as a head coach, and he's got 2 as a coordinator with the Giants, but he's currently retired.
Yeah.
Nick Caserio's got 6 Super Bowl rings and is the new hotshot GM, Nick Caserio of the Texans now, and he's got a chance to add to his total. I'm not saying he's going to add to his total, but he's got a chance to. Brady is done. Belichick is done. And they are the leaders all time, I believe, in just Super Bowl rings, just humans with Super Bowl rings with 8 and then 7. And I think Charles Haley's got 5, if I'm not mistaken. Charles Haley's got 5, and there's like 34 people with 4. And Mahomes got 3. So Mahomes might join that group with 4. And then we might be talking about Mahomes in this rarefied era of human beings with the most Super Bowl rings in like 4 or 5 years. But Nick Caserio right now, if I'm not mistaken, of active people, execs in the NFL or coaches or players among active group, he has the most Super Bowl rings. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean,
factoid.
It's an interesting.
I never thought about that as a human. Yeah. I mean, why would you think about it? It's like, well, I didn't think about that, but it's like, yeah, I guess so, because Brady's retired. Belichick's retired. Well, not retired. Belichick wants to coach. He's right now just out of it. And I think he'll be back unless this young lady just starts putting it on him. And he's like, you know what, the hell with coaching? I'll spend my money and I'm just banging it out with this 24-year-old. This sounds like a great life and good for him. I'm happy for him. But yeah, Nick Caserio, man, if the Texans can get it right, now you got to beat the Kansas City Chiefs you're going to have to ultimately become a championship team or even get to the Super Bowl. But he's got a chance to become the all-time leader in Super Bowl rings.
Yeah.
In terms of a human with Super Bowl rings.
Yeah.
He's got to win 3 more, though.
Yeah, that's still a lot.
There's a lot. But and among active, like I said, active people among GMs and CEOs and executives and players, he does have the most. But you're right. He's got a long way to go to try to be the leader there. But it's something I never thought about. I just heard him talking about it. He's like, he's really lucky. And I was like, he is really lucky. But it just shows you he knows how it looks. He knows how it feels because he had it there with the Patriots. Now, you had Tom Brady, the GOAT, but CJ Stroud, he ain't the GOAT, but he's pretty special. So he's got a special quarterback, something they had there. And now he's kind of filling the pieces. Not the Patriot way, but Nick Caserio learning lessons from those days with the Patriots and applying all of those lessons learned to his construction of the Houston Texans. And I think he's done a damn good job so far. I mean, there's no question about that. All right, there you go. So that's what the facts, what the stats there. So that's a nice little factoid for you. All right, I got another one, but you know what? We'll save it because the other one is for a much larger discussion about Nico Collins and how good Nico Collins is. He's now a top 10 paid receiver in the NFL. But I think that is a hell of a bargain now looking at his impact on the team last season and what type of season he had. It was historically great. It was really good for last season, but I don't think we've put it into perspective in terms of this historical perspective for what Nico Collins did. I'll do that with a couple of stats for you, and we'll do that coming up later on the show. When we come back, we'll hear from Ian Rappaport, who claims there is now a number that Dak Prescott's camp that they have in mind that they're eyeing to close the deal to get the contract extension done with Dak Prescott. We'll review and hear that audio and talk about what that number could be. We'll also get into a discussion about a quarterback salary cap. This is now with more and more quarterbacks like Dak Prescott about to cash in, especially after Trevor Lawrence getting his big deal, $55 million a year. There is talk once again of the NFL capping quarterback salaries. We'll talk about whether that's a good move for the NFL and whether the Players Association should let that happen. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the Horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a new theme Thursday on the Rodcast. That's when my man Patrick, the Idealionaire on the show, comes up with all the musically themed days of the week. And on a new theme Thursday this week, he is helping us celebrate Juneteenth, which we celebrated yesterday. So hope everybody had a great Juneteenth. And in honor of Juneteenth and the celebration, all of the songs will reference the Black people celebrating African American pride and celebrating, of course, Juneteenth as well. So we appreciate Patrick and all of his creativity for the music themed days of the week, including a new theme Thursday. We also appreciate him coming up with the topic for the big fat poll of the day, which is already posted on the X account. You can go check that out at the Horn ATX in the X verse, if you will. Topic, give the folks the topic for the big fat poll today, Patrick.
Big fat poll today. Who is the best remaining free agent in the secondary in the NFL? A bunch of names out there. We put on the list J.C. Jackson, Quandre Diggs, Stephon Gilmore, and Adoree Jackson. Right now, no surprise, Quandre Diggs is getting some love from the Longhorn fans out there.
Yes, I mean he's running away with it, so this is a bit biased. He's 72% of the vote right now. It's like Stephon Gilmore and J.C. Jackson don't even exist really on this thing. So yeah, that's a lot of Longhorn love. And hey, you know what? Quandre deserves it, so I ain't mad at that. I do think Quandre would have been a great pickup for a team like the Texans who need some DB help. Honestly, the Texans could use another corner. They drafted Kamari Lassiter, but one of the big conversations is who's going to win the job opposite Derek Stingley. Derek Stingley was awesome last year, and he's going to be great. I think this year, I think he's going to prove to be one of the better corners in the league, and obviously prove himself worthy of that top draft status. But Jeffrey Okudah and CJ Henderson, they're battling it out, and they got Kamari Lassiter, who they drafted, kind of battling it out. I mean, they could have used one of those DBs.
I still think
they traded for two high-end prospects.
I think Diggs would be a guy you would look at for the Texans if you get through camp and you get through and all those young guys and the second chance guys you signed, and if you don't feel you have it, or maybe in preseason you just don't feel you have it, maybe then you reach out. I think but it feels like they feel pretty good right now, but until you get to the regular season, I don't know. Maybe when you get there, you realize some of those guys are not going to be at the level you need them to be at.
Yeah. No, I mean, just as a piece, a depth piece. They had so many injuries last year. Yeah, I mean, I think they need to worry about depth more than anything. He's playing safety, so he wouldn't help him at the cornerback spot. But I do think he could be a guy that can help you at nickel, at safety. That's where he most recently played with the Seattle Seahawks. All right, good question there for the topic for the big fat poll today. We'll talk about Dak Prescott here. Apparently, there is a number being floated out there about what it will take to re-sign Dak Prescott and to extend him. We'll hear from Ian Rappaport in regards to that. We'll also talk about another subject related to quarterback salaries, the NFL discussing the idea of a quarterback salary cap. And would that be good or bad for the game? We'll discuss that a little bit too. All right, before we do any of that, let's get informed, educated, and updated on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right, your Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In Major League Baseball, the Astros even their series with the White Sox with a 4-1 win yesterday. Hunter Brown was able to give 6 innings, only allowing 1 run, to getting his 4th win of the season. Cesar Salazar had 2 RBI hits in what would be only his 2nd appearance for the Astros this season, with Dubon and McCormick adding the other run support. The Astros wrap up the series today in a day game with Spencer Arguetti taking the mound. And the Rangers salvaged a game in their series with the Mets with a 5-3 victory. Jose Urena gets the win after pitching 2 innings in relief after Leody Taveras hit a go-ahead 2-run homer. Wyatt Langford gets credit for 2 RBIs, one early on a hit by pitch, with the bases loaded and a big single in the 6th to tie the game. The Rangers now get the day off before starting their weekend series with the Royals. And that is your Horn Headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn Headlines. Let's get right to it. One of the headlines I wanted to discuss was the contract status of Dak Prescott. Now, we don't know exactly the number that Dak Prescott and his camp, what I don't know what number would satisfy them. But we know that Trevor Lawrence just signed a deal that tied him for the average and highest average annual value of a contract for a quarterback with $55 million tied with Joe Burrow. That we do know. So we know Dak is going to be at $55 million or higher, and I would say it's probably chances are it's going to be higher right now, given that he's coming off his best season ever. So here's Ian Rappaport, and he was on NFL Network, there was a panel of folks, but he actually revealed that he thinks there is a number now that Dak Prescott and his people have in mind that will satisfy them in these contract negotiations. Here's Ian Rappaport.
Yeah, that is to be determined. And really, the ball is in the Dallas Cowboys court. You know, we have talked about this. We talked about it at the league meeting in March. I think that was the league meeting. Anyway, that the Cowboys have really made no moves toward an extension for Dak. That still is where it remains. Now, you can do a new deal before training camp. You can do a new deal before the season. There is still time. But, you know, all of the leaves that our good friend Jane blew with that leaf blower a couple weeks ago, they are now falling for the Cowboys. The market is showing what it is. Judy mentioned it. Is it possible Dak Prescott gets $60 million if Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow are getting 55 and Dak has all the leverage and a huge number next year if they franchise him, which they can't? $60 million now becomes legitimately possible, whether the Cowboys end up trying somehow, some way to do something for Dak, or whether he just simply plays it out, crushes it, goes to the free agent market. The number 60, as in 60 million, is no longer crazy. It's now pretty real.
The crazy part about it is February of this year, I remember Spot Track is who I go to for all of my contract information. They do a really good job keeping up with all the NFL deals. Spot Track, they guessed, or at least they projected in February 28th of 2024, they projected, this is one reading the article, it says, Spot Track's guess for Prescott's new deal is 3 years, $180 million. That was their guess in February.
Yeah.
So they were already saying he was going to make $60 million. That was before so obviously they have their own data because they track these trends and salaries and what quarterbacks get paid and what their achievements, accolades, statistical achievements are, when they get paid and who gets paid and how much they get paid. And I'm sure they have their own algorithm, and they said in February he's gonna get $60 million. I remember when I brought that report up, and people were like, "Nah, there's no way he's gonna get that much." And now you have Ian Rappaport saying, "Nope, $60 million, pretty realistic." And then on top of that, you got the Trevor Lawrence deal just done, and he's making $55 million a year. And you go, "Well, yeah, Dak making $60 million a year actually makes a lot of sense now that Trevor Lawrence is making 55. Now, when Joe Burrow was making 55 and just he was at 55, it didn't make as much sense. It's like, well, I like Joe Burrow more than I like Dak Prescott. So no, Joe Burrow is better. So Dak Prescott needs to be paid less than Joe Burrow. But now that Trevor Lawrence is making Joe Burrow money, it's like, well, of course, it actually makes sense that Dak Prescott should get paid more than Trevor Lawrence because he's a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence, has accomplished more. There you go, your $60 million. So the quarterback market, it basically, kind of reminds me of the Austin real estate market. I can't explain to you why that lot is worth $3 million, but it is. So you got to pay that price. I don't know why that lot's worth that. I remember on the east side, it wasn't worth that, 5, 6, 7 years ago, but it's worth that now. And yesterday's price is not today's price. And today's price is not yesterday's price. So Jerry Jones, if you want Dak, $60 million is the number per year. That's it. That's no negotiation here. That's it. Unless Dak wants to give you a hometown discount, which it doesn't sound like they're giving hometown discounts. Not happening.
No, I mean, and that's it. It always seemed as if he was going to get close to that number, but I don't know if if they maybe try and wait it out. But this is the problem for Jerry Jones right now is you see what's happening in the quarterback market. So unless you're willing to draft a quarterback early, which he doesn't want to do, and then get a guy on a rookie wage scale, I don't know how you're going to get a starting quarterback that can win you a Super Bowl without paying Dak Prescott. I just don't know what that path is of not trading up and trying to do whatever you can to get a first-round quarterback that you're going to have to pay wage scale, whatever the rookie wage scale is, and then hopefully they do well enough that you re-sign them. I get you can say that you want to see the results in the playoffs, but it just feels like at this point when you see what the market is, there is no win for you anymore. The market has decided that you do not get to win this. There's no, at this point, the less guaranteed money, that's your win. That's where you're going to win.
Much.
60 million is what the money is. And then you go, well, I only guaranteed 120 of it. That's a win.
Yeah. No, I think you're right about that. And, ultimately now for the Cowboys, because even if Dak goes into the season, and let's say he has not a bad season, but just an above average season, like it's not a spectacular season, and let's say the Cowboys lose in the divisional round again, like they always do, his price is not going to go down.
Kirk Cousins,
exactly,
tore his Achilles, and got paid.
And got paid. Yeah, so I'm saying the price is not going to go down. He's still going to have the value. It's basically the value of a franchise quarterback now, not necessarily the value of that specific player. Because, like I said, we're starting to see now all these guys, once they got paid, they set the market when they got paid. Those quarterbacks we're talking about, right? Joe Burrow set the market when he got paid. Trevor Lawrence matched the market. I say maybe said it, but matched the market when he got paid. And I think Lamar Jackson, when he got paid, he set the market at that time. I think Jalen Hurts at the time, remember, he was the highest paid for, what was that, like a couple of weeks or something like that, whatever it was. He set the market. That's usually Deshaun Watson. And this is how Deshaun Watson, before him, remember, he's set the market.
Yeah.
He's the 8th highest paid quarterback at 46
and I'll say this,
per year.
Trevor Lawrence set the market like Daniel Jones set the market, which is Joe Burrow set the ceiling. I'm going to set the floor. Trevor Lawrence said, man, I haven't really won much. I throw a lot of interceptions, and you can put it on there. I haven't had a lot of great seasons. This is now the floor for a starting quarterback. This is now where we're going to be the floor, because Daniel Jones did it at $40 million a year a couple of years ago.
You're right.
That he was the floor.
13th. He's now 13th.
Yeah. Which, by the way, is still insane because they don't even want him on the team. He's
like an NBA player. He's like an NBA player making big money, making like we don't even want to play.
We laughed that he's $40 million and 13th, but that dude, they like if the Giants had any way to get rid of him, they would. But they have to pay him the money because they guarantee him. So that's what I'm saying is like Trevor Lawrence set a floor of, and I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but that's a floor for a starting quarterback. Do you feel could be is that borderline franchise quarterback? That's 55 now.
Yeah, you're right. Because if Jared Goff had waited till after that, Jared Goff would be.
He get more than
55 range because of Trevor Lawrence. He's like, no, I got more than Trevor Lawrence, so I got to get more than him. You're right, Trevor. That's a great point. He set the floor, and Joe Burrow set the ceiling. It's weird, and they're the same.
They're the same. But
same.
No, because the ceiling was set a year ago. So the ceiling is now going. Good. Dak's about to set the ceiling.
Dak is about to reset the ceiling, but the Trevor Lawrence floor is like the floor used to be $40 million with Daniel Jones, and now the floor is $55 million.
Yeah.
How long?
And by the way, I'm not Trevor
Dak's
Lawrence
at the floor now. Right now, Dak's at the floor now. He's at $40 million.
Yeah.
So Dak's now at the floor.
He's at the
He's below the floor now, I guess.
Daniel Jones level.
He is. He's in Daniel Jones level. Him and Daniel Jones are making $40 million a year.
Oh. You want to get mad? You want to get mad at Dak Prescott? This man's making Daniel Jones money.
Making Daniel Jones money, man. He feels like he's broke, man. He's being disrespected out there. But no, that's a great point about. You're right about the floor. I didn't think about that. I didn't think about it in that way. But you're right. It's exactly what it is. That's how an agent's gonna say, "Hey, man, this is the floor." That's what Dak's like. Dak's agent's like, "That's the floor, man." The worst we gonna do is Trevor Lawrence's deal. That's the worst we gonna do.
Jacksonville likes to just screw up the market, don't they?
They did it with Christian Kirk. You're right. In the wide receiver market, they did. Everyone was like, "Why Christian Kirk get that kind of money?" And then boom, all the wide receivers started getting paid. I got 21 wide receivers.
Yeah, I'll mention every time the fans dressed up as clowns in the stands to mock this general manager, and yet somehow he is the trend maker for the NFL.
Didn't that? And isn't the same general manager that farted and then like during a press conference?
Balky?
Yeah, was it him?
I can't remember if it's I know.
Himself? Was it him? I swear it was him. I swear.
I remember. I remember the clip.
You remember the clip?
I remember the clip, but I can't.
I think it was Trent Bell. I think it was him. I'll have to make sure. But anyway, but you're right. That I don't know why.
Yeah, it was him. It was him.
It was him. Of course it was. But I don't know why the Jaguars keep doing it. But you're right. They do seem to shift the market when they sign some of their deals, and not in a good way for the rest of the NFL, not for the owners. They seem to overpay players.
They do.
And the rest of the owners are trying to underpay players. They're trying to reset the market to give the owners and the teams discounts on premium players and premium positions. So God bless the Jaguars.
Hey, this is the general manager right here.
still got a couple of days going through. Coach and I haven't sat down and gone through the final board yet.
That guy.
Isn't
That
that
guy.
amazing?
That guy set the market.
That guy set the floor for the quarterback market. Excuse me. He just kept it rolling too. Good for him. Hey, man, you gotta let it loose. You don't want to keep that in. That could be bad for you. But anyway, but talk about the quarterbacks just really quickly, and then this will lead to our conversation about the quarterback salary cap, which is like folks, I guarantee you right now it's just hypothetical. But there are some NFL owners I think they're really serious about this quarterback salary cap thing because they see what's happening now, and they're tired of being held hostage by these QBs. But we'll get into that in a second. I want to talk about what quarterbacks, because if Dak gets his $60 million, if he don't get it from the Cowboys, he'll get it from somebody else. So he's gonna get $60 million. And then looking at the quarterback market, don't forget Josh. I don't know what Josh Allen, they got to rework his deal. At one point, I think Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are going to get their deals reworked. I just don't know when it's going to happen, and I don't know how unhappy they are. I'm not saying they're unhappy now at all. But you got Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes now on the outskirts of the top 10. Like Patrick Mahomes is 10th, and Josh Allen is 11th in quarterback salary.
Daniel Jones is 13th.
Yes, right. And Dak Prescott is sandwiched in between them. He's right there at 12th. So Dak's about to reset it. But then at one point, Mahomes and Josh Allen are going to restructure and they're going to reset the market too. I just don't know which one of them is going to do it and when. And honestly, it might be Josh Allen because Josh Allen doesn't have much help. Patrick Mahomes like, man, I'm winning Super Bowls. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm winning Super Bowls. My endorsements I'm making hundreds of millions of dollars a year in endorsements. I'm good. We're going to keep winning Super Bowls. I'm fine for now. If you're Josh Allen, you ain't necessarily winning Super Bowls. They just took away all your weapons. You live in Buffalo. At times it's tough. You might be like, man, listen, I need y'all to pay me. I'm sorry. I need to be paid. I'm playing like one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, and y'all paying me like Daniel freaking Jones, okay? I love it. That just probably comes up in every negotiation. Hey, I'm being paid like Daniel Jones, for God's sakes. Come on, man.
Just want to show you this picture of Daniel Jones and his deer in the headlights look.
Exactly. But anyway, getting back to it. God, think about, okay, let's just for a second, let's just fast forward. Let's jump in the time machine. Let's hit the flux capacitor. Let's jump in the DeLorean and let's go back to the future and let's look at potential deals. I say Dak Prescott's deal's been done. He's at 60. Done. It's already over. What does that mean for a Josh Allen redone deal or a Mahomes? I think Josh Allen is probably more like I said. Mahomes is winning championships, so I think he's good until
I think they'd renegotiate him if they win this Super Bowl and 3P. Kelsey and Andy Reid retire. They give him some more money and say, all right, we're now going to pay you to stick around.
Yeah, he's not going to play hardball with the Kansas Chiefs just because it's going too well now. They're like a honeymoon phase. It's going too well. But Josh Allen, I could see like, hey, man, y'all need to pay me. Y'all took all my weapons away. I can see him on set. So what does that mean for a Josh Allen in the future? What does it mean for Jordan Love's deal with the Packers? What does it mean for C.J. Stroud's deal with the Texans? I mean, C.J. Stroud, guys, if he stays on this path, this trajectory, he's already got a hell of a start. One of the best starts for a career, arguably the best rookie season in the history of the NFL for a quarterback. And they're paying Trevor Lawrence $55 million after what he's achieved and proven, all right, in his first 4 years in the league. Man, what's CJ Stroud going to get if he stays on this pace? Like I said, what does a Jordan Love get if he builds on what he did last year? If the floor is what Patrick says now is Trevor Lawrence's $55 million, that's the floor. And Dak's going to have your ceiling at 60. I think you could get, like I said, you could get these guys going. CJ Stroud, if he continues on this path, CJ Stroud could get somewhere close to $65 million a year.
Yeah.
Easy.
Oh, easy.
He could be close. He could push it 70.
But that's the question now, I think, is where it's going to start going up more and more is in that guaranteed too. And now for CJ, maybe not as much. So I think the older quarterbacks is going to be more in the guaranteed. So for Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen will both probably more care about the guaranteed. But CJ
Stroud's agent is David Mulligetta, who I call the Johnny Cochran of NFL agents. He's the one that got Deshaun Watson a fully guaranteed deal. in the midst of civil lawsuits and allegations of sexual misconduct. He had just gone a season without playing, and he was about to be suspended. We had no idea when he was going to be available to play again, and David Mulligetta got him a fully guaranteed deal, which, by the way, so leads to our next conversation, the NFL ignored, by the way. Let's not forget that. Don't forget, the NFL basically colluded. And even though we've been working with precedent when quarterback, and as it relates to quarterback contracts, that's why Trevor Lawrence got $55 million, because they're working with precedent, not necessarily about what you deserve, is what you can negotiate. And the quarterbacks, they've been working on a precedent. Oh, this franchise quarterback got this much, so I'm in this neighborhood, I'm going to get that much. They completely ignored the precedent of the Deshaun Watson deal. Act like it didn't happen. Acting like somebody brought in the Men in Black mind eraser device and just erased everybody. I forgot all about it. I was like, hold up. Well, the next deal is done supposed to be based on the last deal that was done. The precedent set for a franchise quarterback signing a deal, and he signed a fully guaranteed deal. So, nope. Never happened.
Just they walk in and say, well, Deshaun Watson. They go, I know, what a despicable person. I don't even want to speak his name anymore in this office. Despicable. We should never even, don't even say his name anymore.
What about his contract? Don't mention that either.
Don't mention his name.
Bah, humbug. We don't like that. They just assumed that the Browns were just as incompetent in it. Now that could be true. That they were just an incompetent, inept organization to sign that kind of deal, but they ignored it.
Oh,
and that's how you know it ain't maybe it's not full on collusion, but there's something going on. The same thing happened with Lamar Jackson. Remember, you had like one or two teams that even admit they were interested. As soon as he decided he was going to be available via the franchise tag, teams openly came out to say, nope, we are not interested in an MVP quarterback in his prime. Hell no. We'd rather go draft the mystery box, all right, and sign an aging old frail quarterback like Kirk Cousins to a blockbuster deal. That's what we'd rather do. And it's like, what is going on here? What is happening? And it's like, well, that's not collusion, but y'all definitely up to some duplicitous activity behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Something's going on. And now we learned that now he's got another MVP, and you learn teams like the Atlanta Falcons were so damn desperate for a quarterback. They drafted one in the top 10 and went out and paid Kirk. Because it's like, you could have just pulled that money together and the draft picks and got Lamar Jackson. That seemed like that would have been an easier route than what you have decided to do.
Seems easier to me that you spent the money. And you used a draft pick.
What?
It seems
you
like
you could have gotten MVP for that.
It seems like you could have gotten Lamar Jackson, who you know what it is.
You know what it is. He's an MVP. You would have got a proven commodity, but no mystery box. It's like something's not adding up. Anyway, so let's get into this story just really quick, because the NFL, and this came from Tom Pelissero. So Tom Pelissero was on, I believe he was on the Rich Eisen show, actually. And he said that at some point, look, with these quarterback salaries, he said at some point the owners, they're going to be reluctant to allow these quarterback salaries to go over a certain percentage of the salary cap. And right now they're hovering around 25%. I think Joe Burrow's deal has him at 25% of the salary cap. And he said this is making the owners a little uneasy because they don't want that number to keep growing and continue to be a large portion of the salary cap. So one of the ideas that's being floated around is a quarterback cap, a cap on quarterback salaries. And it said adopting an NBA model might be one way to better regulate those percentages. As Pelissero noted, the NBA currently has a max and a super max restrictions for free agents and that kind of thing. So it define it more. And I'm not saying that's a terrible idea. My concern for the NFL, and honestly, it may be hopeless situation anyway. I may be describing something that doesn't even matter because the NFL Players Association is so weak. But if the NFL Players Association allows the NFL to cap quarterback salaries, whether it's percentages of the salary cap or whatever they do, or with the NBA model, because they're not the NBA and they don't have guaranteed salaries or the longevity of those careers, or the power of their Players Association to force trades and do all other kind of stuff. The NFL won't stop at capping quarterback class. We just talked about wide receiver and how you got the last 2 years, you've had the wide receiver market balloon. Now you got 4 wide receivers making $30 million. That number is going to be up to 6 or 7 probably before the season starts. And they're gonna put a cap on that too. They're gonna be like, you know what, wide receiver can't get higher than this number. And then you know what? Might as well do it with defensive ends. Might as well just do it with Might as well do it with every premium position. And the only thing pushing salaries in the NFL right now are the premium positions and pushing that salary. And so my point would be, don't let the NFL do it, because if they do it, they're gonna cap all of them. They capping all your salaries, and you don't make guaranteed money. Your career is very short compared to NBA players and Major League Baseball players. You don't even have guaranteed health insurance. Right? You are not in a position to let them cap the one position that is pushing the value forward, that is increasing the value overall of the players and the market for players. It's the only thing that's getting close to guaranteed salaries, guaranteed contracts, which is something you've been fighting for. It's the quarterbacks. So I think just be wary of that, because if they cap it, I'm not saying it's a terrible idea for the owners. It might be a great idea for the owners. Just like a great idea for the owners is no guaranteed salaries. Great idea for the owners. Just like a great idea for the owners is we won't give you health insurance after we only give you health insurance for your vested years, which for NFL players, average career is 3.5 years. You're done by the time you're 28. It's 4 years of vested, so you're done with your health insurance by the time you're 32 years old. Good luck with that. Don't let them do it. They keep doing this. You can't keep doing this. They keep doing it. Matter of fact, you know what they passed not too long ago? They saw Lionel Messi sign the revenue sharing deal with MLS, and they thought to themselves, damn, one of these quarterbacks because Caleb Williams people had actually been asking about it.
And Tom Brady, there was the rumor.
Tom Brady was the rumor, right? He wanted to be Jackie Moon, wanted to be owner/player. And there was talk that Patrick Mahomes people.
Yep.
And instead of asking for salary, like, you know what, just give me 5% of the team, and you can pay me whatever you want to after I get 5% of the team, because of what the value will be. And they passed a rule. Matter of fact, it was the Kansas City Chiefs ownership that introduced the new rule, unanimously passed, that no player could ever, while playing, own a piece of an NFL team. Can't happen now. They voted it down like 2 years ago. As soon as the Lionel Messi news broke, NFL owners, those billionaires behind the scenes went, yeah, you know what? That could happen to us. And you know what? The Browns are the stupid franchise in this in our league, and they signed Deshaun Watson to a fully guaranteed deal we had to ignore. So now, they might be the team that decides, you know what? We really want a quarterback. Let's give them a piece of the franchise, and then we'll really ready to close a deal on a big time free agent QB, or trade for a big time free agent QB and do that. So they passed the rule. It's not possible in the NFL. So I'm just saying, just be careful, because these owners are these billionaires are savvy. They are. There's a reason that it is the number one sports product in America, is because their billionaires club, it dominates, and the Players Association in the NFL is the weakest. So just be wary of that. And I know there are probably some other options. I've even talked about how you can remove quarterback from the salary cap structure altogether. You can do that. But I don't know. There's problems that arise with that situation, or that option as well. So maybe the status quo is the best overall, method for the NFL going forward. But man, you're nothing like NBA players or Major League Baseball players. So don't let them do that apples to apples comparison. You don't get guaranteed salary, so you need quarterbacks out there to be pushing the overall value of the NFL commodities market. They need to be pushing it, trying to get guaranteed salaries, trying to get, in my opinion, trying to get rid of some of the things like the franchise tag. Like, these are all things that allow teams to have more control over you. Team control in the NFL, it's real. Team control in the NBA, it's an illusion. It is. Over stars. Superstars in the NBA, they demand out all the time. I want out. All the big money guys, I want out. I'm unhappy. I want to leave. And then the team will fight them for a couple of months, and then ultimately, what will the team do? Trade them. Let them out of their deal. They'll trade them. You don't do that in NFL. NFL will laugh and scoff at you because your money ain't guaranteed. So they'll be like, all right, we'll just take your guaranteed money. You sit on the bench all you want to, you're going to be broke. And by the way, your career lasts about 5 years. So good luck with that. That doesn't happen in the NFL. Team control is real in the NFL. It ain't real in the NBA. Stars can get out. Big money gets out all the time. So you're not the same. You're not like the NBA. So you need to fight for every bit of value you got, and your quarterbacks are your best chance to do it. You start capping quarterback salaries, everything else in the NFL is going to be discounted. Everything. Wide receiver. And why is the wide receiver market ballooning the way it is because it's connected to quarterback. It's considered the premier weapon for your quarterback. Your quarterback now, in order for it to flourish, you need a wide receiver. So the wide receiver market is ballooning as a result. And once you depress the wide receiver, the quarterback market, you're going to depress the wide receiver market too, and everything associated with it. Yes, don't let them do it.
Do you know?
Don't let them do it.
Do you know who screwed this all up in the first place?
Who?
It was John Elway. Have you ever heard the story of the John Elway ownership contract?
Oh, yes, and he rejected it.
Apparently, in 1998, he offered part of the contract to get him to take less money was he would allow him to buy 10% of the team for $15 million.
Oh.
And then he could if he said his deferred money, he let that go, he would get another 10%. So it would have been spending 15 and letting go of 21 million. He would be a 20% owner of the Broncos right now.
Wow. And the precedent would have been set.
In 1997, he signed a 4-year, $19 million contract.
Ooh, I want to know how much. How much would it be worth today? They tell you?
I believe in the article that was a few years old, it was around $400 million. What he would have owned a 20% stake.
Oh man, yeah, that hurts. That hurts right there. I'm sure he's still. I mean, John Elway's doing just fine. But man, talk about a game changer that would have been for everything. And that would have been a hell of a precedent to set. But it show that's why the NFL passed that rule.
Yeah,
because all it takes is one rogue franchise. Like, you know what, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And then the precedent is a dangerous precedent is set. It kind of reminds me of that. Man, what's the name of the owner? Was it Ronald Wayne? Remember, Apple initially has 3 owners. They're three original owners. It was Steve Jobs. It was Wozniak. And then there was this other guy, Ronald Wayne, who bought into Apple like literally in its infancy. And I want to say he had like a 10% stake in Apple at the time. And he sold it in like 1976 or something like that. I want to say he like sold his stock, his 10% stock. Yes. And he sold it for $800. He sold it back to Wozniak and Steve Jobs for $800. And today his stock would be worth $95 billion. Ooh. And he said he needed to buy like a washer and a dryer or something. It was like a weird story where he said he bought like a washer or a dryer or something like that. Like just something he needed. He said, I don't need this stock. He's got that. They're working out of some garage.
It sounds like 100% a Patrick Davis move right there.
Yeah. No, it is. Isn't that crazy? He said he felt out of place though, too, because these are 2 intellectuals. They'd be talking about programming and all this stuff. And he's like, I just had some extra money. I just wanted to invest in. He was smart. He invested in the right company. He just pulled it out too early. Ronald Wayne. Remember that guy? Remember that name? Ronald Wayne was his name. God. Wow. That hurt my heart today if that was the case. I still would. I mean, that'd be a family curse almost. I don't even know if this guy is still alive, but that'd be a family curse.
I mean, that would be that joke at just every dinner and just be like, oh, I'll pick up the check. Don't worry about it, Ronald. I mean, you sold Apple for $800. You still got that money?
You still got that check? That $800? Oh man, when you could have had. Oh, what they say? That's crazy to think about that.
We could all be basically. We all be sailing on yachts next to each other.
Yeah, because I wonder Apple's like worth like $1 trillion. So like his 10% stake, $95 billion.
Jeez.
So John Elway, he doesn't feel as bad as. Is there anybody that feels as worse as Ronald Wayne?
No.
I don't think anybody feels that bad about making a bad financial decision. I've made some bad ones. I've lost a lot of money doing stupid stuff in my life. Trust me. But anytime I feel bad about my financial decisions, I look up Ronald Wayne to make me feel better about myself. So I'm sorry, Ronald Wayne. I know that's probably tragic for you and your family. All right, we come back. We'll get into some behind the burnt orange curtain. We'll talk some Texas football on the other side. We'll talk about the potential breakout candidate for Texas. Also, we'll get into some good news. Texas, they got their Big 12 championship rings. We'll dive into that. And Elite 11. There's a future Longhorn that is competing in the Elite 11 camp. We'll talk a little bit about that too coming up. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into some Texas football conversation going behind the burnt orange curtain. A couple of things. First of all, congrats to the Longhorns. They got their Big 12 championship rings. So you've seen a lot of those guys showing those off via Twitter. So I've seen a lot of it on my timeline. They look pretty cool. They're not bad at all. Start diamond studded. So the guys have been celebrating their Big 12 championship all over again by getting the ring. So that's something that I wanted to mention. Also, the Elite 11 camps. So this is the Elite 11 quarterback camps. Top 20 quarterbacks, I believe, in the country are at the Elite 11 camp this weekend. And the quarterback prospect committed to Texas, KJ Lacey, after day one yesterday. I think they had him ranked fourth among that group after day one. I mean, it's like a week long. It lasts for a while. So they got all these different challenges, like the accuracy challenge. They got their own version of the pro day workout panels that grade all the guys and give them scores. If you go look at, the last 10 Elite 11 MVP, like Elite 11 MVP quarterbacks, guys that win the competition there, I believe Julian Sayin won it last year. Jackson Arnold, who went to Oklahoma, he won in 2022. Cade Klubnik, who was a local prospect here from Austin Westlake, he won it in 2021. He went to Clemson. Caleb Williams won it in 2020 at USC, and then of course the number 1 overall pick, CJ Stroud, he won it in 2019. Spencer Rattler won it in 2018. A lot of people were high on Spencer Rattler. I don't forget where Spencer Rattler was drafted, actually, what team he went to. You recall? I can't remember. I know it was I remember thinking that, well, not thinking, but hearing a lot of teams were high on Spencer Rattler as a kind of a mid-round pick, but I can't remember what team he went to. Justin Fields.
The Saints.
Oh, the Saints.
5th round Saints.
Okay. All right. That's not bad. Justin Fields won it in 2017. Thank you, Patrick. Justin Fields won it in 2017. Tua won it in 2016. Shea Patterson in 2015 and Blake Barnett. So I will say lately, though, I mean, you go look at it since 2017, it's pretty accurate predictor of a quarterback that can play at a really high level. Justin Fields in 2017. We talking about the college level, so don't start hitting me up with Justin Fields NFL stats. This is coming out of high school to college. Justin Fields in 2017, Spencer Rattler in 2018, even though I get Spencer Rattler ended up leaving Oklahoma and had his job taken, but he still performed really well there at South Carolina. CJ Stroud, we know what he's become. Caleb Williams, we know what came of Caleb Williams. And then Cade Klubnik, still one of the better quarterbacks in college football, and we wait to see Jackson Arnold this year as a starter for Oklahoma, and just let you know what he's capable of. Based on recent history with the MVP award of the Elite 11 camps, he's in really elite company. So Jackson Arnold, we'll see next year if they can build that system around. He's got some really good wide receivers, but they got to replace all the offensive line and replacing the play caller there as well. So we'll see where KJ Lacey, if he can win the competition this year, but if he doesn't win it, it's not a big deal. I will say this though, out of the 60 out of the Elite 11 MVPs, 60% of them have transferred over the last decade, which tracks with the blue chip quarterback transfer rate. The blue chip quarterback transfer rate is now above 60%. In places like the SEC, it's even higher than 60%, but it's 60 to 65%. So if you sign a blue chip quarterback for a 5-star recruit, there's about a 60% chance they will transfer by the time they step on campus. You just know that. So it's with the Elite 11 camp. It doesn't surprise me that the MVPs, 60% of them, they end up transferring. That's just a new reality of college football that we live in. The schools that have signed the most Elite 11 finalists, Texas has signed 9 of them. The Elite 11 finalists, the best quarterbacks in the country. But that is behind Tennessee, who signed 10. Notre Dame and Tennessee actually have signed 10. Michigan, Penn State, Florida State, and Texas have signed 9 since they started the Elite 11 camps. Tennessee and Notre Dame have signed 10. Ohio State has signed 11. Florida and Southern and USC have signed 12. Bama has signed 13. Oklahoma has signed 14 of the Elite 11 finalists, and then Georgia 15. To me, a lot of this is, I don't say a lot of it. Some of it is Lincoln Riley's impact too. That Oklahoma is so high on here, and then that USC rise is so high on here too, just because Lincoln Riley reputation.
Yep.
He's got. I guarantee a bunch of these are just Lincoln Riley people.
Hey man, when you got those Heismans.
Exactly. Heisman's and number 1 overall picks. I mean, you can have
Yeah.
your pick pretty much of these elite quarterbacks out there. So there you go. That's an update on the Elite 11 quarterback camp. We'll probably give you another one tomorrow. We can scrounge up some of the updates from that. Also, let's get to this CBS Sports. It's a CBS Sports article about breakout candidates in college football this year. And there's a Longhorn who's getting some love, and the Longhorn getting some love is Malik Muhammad. Malik Muhammad, who had a 79.9 coverage grade from Pro Football Focus last year. That was the best on the team, but actually second best among Big 12 cornerbacks last season. So he was really good. And I'll say this too, and I threw this out there earlier in the show. If you had to, and somebody asked me this, if you were twisting my arm and asked me, hey, which one of these young defensive backs, all right, on the roster right now, it can be somebody who's a veteran or somebody who hadn't played much, who do you think would make it the furthest in the Thorpe Award candidacy? Like, who could make it? I don't even know if somebody could win it. I don't even know, because winning the Thorpe Award means you're the best defensive back in the country. I don't know if Texas has a DB that will be worthy of winning that award. Not yet. But could someone become a semifinalist? The last semifinalist Texas had for the Thorpe was Deshaun Elliott. The last semifinalist Texas had for Thorpe. I was a semifinalist for the Thorpe. Wish I could have been a finalist, but to be a finalist, you gotta have stats. You gotta make a lot of plays. Gotta have some big highlight plays. I didn't have enough of those. But is there somebody on the squad as a DB that could at least end up being a semifinalist for the Thorpe? I think you have two. I really do. I think Malik Muhammad is my number 1. I think Malik Muhammad is awesome. He's a star in the making. I mean, Texas has 2 Thorpe Award winners in their history, and that's Aaron Ross and Michael Huff. So I don't think he's there yet. He's not on that caliber of a player, but he's really special in terms of his press coverage technique. I think he's a natural ball hawk, so he's going to make a lot of plays on the ball. I think he'll be tested this year early in the SEC, but I think he will pass with flying colors. So I'm a big fan of him as a technician and a ball hawk. And I think I'll throw Jahdae Barron in there. Jahdae Barron is a great football investigator. Nobody processes clues pre-snap and post-snap in that secondary as well as he does. And that's why he's really quick to be able to jump plays, to jump screens. He's great at being a force run defender in the run game. He can win the chess match against an opposing quarterback. One example, the interception he got in the Alabama game. Remember, he says he is the one that orchestrated that interception. He said earlier in that game, in the first quarter, Jalen Milroe, they ran the same route combination, and Jalen Milroe was reading him. So he's looking at Jalen Milroe, and Jalen Milroe was reading him, and he said he dropped. They call it sinking. He said that he was sinking to try to cover the deep routes. Remember, I tell you, you cover deep to shallow as a defender. So he was sinking to cover the deeper route in the zone coverage that they were in. And he could tell that Jalen Milroe was reading him, because as soon as he started to sink, Jalen Milroe was decisive and went boom, straight to the underneath route. Like, he threw it almost immediately as soon as Jahdae Barron started to sink into his coverage zone. Jahdae Barron thought to himself, all right, you know what? I see this formation, this route concept again. I am going to fake like I'm sinking, and I'm going to jump that underneath route. Just so happens, next time, route combination came up. Jalen Milroe, looking at the same thing, looked at Jahdae Barron. Jahdae Barron acted like he was going to sink and then jumped underneath the route, got an interception. This is one example of it. That guy's a chess master. He understands the chess match within the game. So if he can make more plays like that, because I know he's got the capability to do it. I mean, he can make more plays like that, splash plays in big games. Jahdae Barron will be in that conversation too, and he should be marketed by the SIDs there, John Bianca, the sports information department, as the most versatile defender in college football, or at least in the secondary in college football. Because he can play corner, he can play nickel, he can play safety. And you start to promote him like that, and then during or before games, when they're doing their prep for the games, guys like Joe Cladd, the people who are calling the games, they will start to highlight that too. And you can start to move him around a little bit more depending on the matchup week to week. And trust me, you can help him out and promote him into being one of the guys who ends up as a semifinalist for the Thorpe Award or something like that. So Texas only won 2. That's Michael Huff and Aaron Ross. I don't think they're going to win one this year. Could they get a semifinalist for the Thorpe? I think they could. I think they're 2 guys that have that kind of ceiling with that Texas defense. All right, we come back. We'll get into a little off the record on the other side, and we'll get into several stories, actually, that I think we can get into it off the record. Some from the sports world, a couple from beyond the sports world. All that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis and Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Austin is a great city. It's one of the reasons people keep moving to Austin, making it one of the fastest growing cities in America. And as our city continues to grow and thrive, so do our friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482. Many of the iconic landmarks we love in this city were created and built by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local Union 482, like the Pennybacker Bridge and D-Care Stadium. The folks over at Ironworkers Local 482 don't just go to the office, they build it. So if you're looking for an exciting employment opportunity, or you want a refreshing career change, or maybe you want to feel valued by your employer, you can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local Union 482. And right now, it's the perfect time to do it. They're hiring over 3,000 people for this project they have in Central Texas. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, and a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. So right now is the perfect time for you to reach out and become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that helps shape the future of our great city. So go online and apply today at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Got a couple of stories that I want to hit here. Okay, so we talked about this yesterday a little bit. Then I saw RG3 mention it in the Quinn Ewers interview. So Quinn Ewers was sitting down with RG3, and RG3 brought up his likeness in the new college sports video game. And actually, shout out to my man Doc Texas at Doc_Texas because he was featured. At least a screenshot of his tweet was featured. He says that Quinn Ewers' likeness in the video game looks like Eric from Entourage, which it does. There's a picture of Eric from Entourage right next to it from Doc_Sports, Doc_Texas, excuse me. And it does. It does not look like Quinn Ewers. It looks more like E from Entourage. And we talked about this yesterday, Patrick, and you informed me that apparently there's some other Longhorns who are not happy with their likeness potentially because they put it out there what their likeness may be in Madden.
Yes.
A new Madden video game. So I don't know if the same people are doing the likeness or not, but Byron Murphy was, at least someone put it out there. I don't know if Byron Murphy himself put it out there, but somebody put out Byron Murphy's likeness from the Madden video game, and they claim, and I kind of agree, that it doesn't look like Byron Murphy. Actually looks like an Asian kind of influenced Byron Murphy. Looks like of Asian descent. Looks like a Byron Murphy of Asian descent, pretty much. Now, like I said, nothing wrong with that, but they don't like Byron Murphy, though. Don't look like him at all. No. And Jay Witt is another one of these. Jay Witt, apparently Corey Mose threw that out there. Corey Mose does a great job for KView, and he put out what is a screenshot, and I think he took it from a player's Instagram account.
Yeah, from Jay Witt's Instagram.
Okay, so he got it from Jay Witt's Instagram, and so like I said, I don't know where all the players, maybe they're getting the screenshots for themselves, but the likeness or supposed to be the image of Jay Witt, it does not look like Jay Witt at all. It just looks like a random black dude. This is like a random black dude. Does not look like Jay Witt.
It does not.
It's like nothing. Like at least you could make the argument that the Byron Murphy of Asian descent, they were trying to get to Byron Murphy and they just screwed it all up. Just bad representation. And even the Quinn Ewers likeness in the college football video game that looks like Eric from Entourage, you could argue, all right, they were trying to get there. They did not try at all to get there with Jay Witt, or they had the wrong picture. They just they had the wrong picture of somebody named Jay Witt. They did not have him at all. That's crazy that the likeness could be that off. I thought we were getting to the point where technology allowed us to, nail the likeness, because the graphics were so technologically advanced.
I know, and this is the problem is, so I know there's in the MLB game at least, when you go and play Road to the Show, they're like, we'll just take an actual picture, and then the machine will so it'll look like you on the pic, and it'll look like you in the game. Yeah. And then if you do that, at least for me, it never turns out remotely close to what you would think it would turn out like. You're like, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure my nose is not on my forehead. I don't know. What is
because are we using AI to do this now?
My guess they start with AI.
Yeah,
and it starts with like one piece of it, and they get for whatever picture, and it finds something about it, and then it goes through. It would be crazy if they didn't even select the picture for it to go into, and they just were like, go to the website and pull this picture from this website. And but for whatever reason, they get those and they all seem awful. Hopefully they will go back in and start editing some of these, because if we're just seeing a few of those, I have to imagine it's a lot more of them than are just.
These are the ones that we care about, just that we care about. Yeah. So I'm with you, because they got first rank. They got Byron Murphy's a first round pick. But Quinn Ewers was on the damn video game. You thought you'd have got the first round picks and the guy that's on the video game cover, because get their likeness right. Everybody else, we'll figure that out later.
I mean,
they didn't get those right. They didn't get any of them right.
No, it was easier in your day because your face was like what, 4 pixels?
Oh man, it was just a blur. I don't know what the hell. It was just some eyes, 2 eyes, and a nose, and then try to get the skin color right, and we good. That's it. That's papers. That's number 21. Yeah, you're right. They didn't even try back then. Now they're actually trying, and I think they're failing, but they're trying. At least they're trying. But they don't look anything like.
You gotta hire some more people there, EA. Get some more.
Nope. That's probably what it is right there. They
hire some people.
Now you just hit the nail on the head. Yep, that's why AI is doing all the work.
Can we pay like 3 people to go in and just start editing? Just get those savants who that's all they do, and they just sit there and the people who post community rosters and have all these, and they made up the same people that we used to go in the EA game and the college football.
Yeah.
And they would go in,
do it player by player,
and do the whole thing. Yeah. Get those guys, hire them. They'll do it for no money.
They'll do it for pennies. You're right about it. They'll do it for pennies on the dollar, and I think they'll do a better job. But some of the images is a little off. Some of the likeness is a little off there. Okay, I had another story that I want to get to, but we'll table. It was about it's evergreen. It's about Woody Harrelson. We'll get to that a little bit later on. So we'll get to that a little bit later on. But let's get to the break. We come back. We'll dive into some NFL news notes and nuggets. We'll do that in Rod's rant to talk about the difference between straight drop back and play action pass. Also, we'll hear from Quinn Ewers. He spoke with RG3. Got about 4 cuts of audio. Really interesting stuff about Sark and about his influence on Quinn Ewers, their relationship between play calling quarterback. So we'll dive into that. And we haven't played the sound of Dan Patrick revealing who's been mentoring Wemby on some new moves. And I want to get Patrick's thoughts about this too. I thought that's a pretty interesting nugget that was dropped the other day. All right, so we'll get into all of that. Got a lot to do on the show before we're done. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a new theme Thursday edition of the Rodcast. That's when my man Patrick, the Idealionaire, my co-host, comes up with all the musically themed days of the week. But a new theme Thursday. The theme is dedicated usually to something that inspired him throughout the week. And this week is the Juneteenth celebration that we all had yesterday. So that is the theme of New Theme Thursday. All the songs referencing and talking about the celebration of the African African American culture and Juneteenth. So we appreciate my man Patrick on a New Theme Thursday, shouting out to Juneteenth. Hope everybody had a great Juneteenth, as a matter of fact. All right, well, in this segment, we're going to get to some audio of Quinn Ewers, starting quarterback for University of Texas, interviewing with RG3. Thought he brought up some interesting points about what he learns from Sark and what makes Sark so unique as a coach. So we'll get into that here. Also in this hour, we'll dive into some audio also of Dan Patrick talking about Wemby. And apparently there's an NBA player, former NBA player, who is now mentoring Wemby a little bit. We'll get into that a little bit, and I want to get Patrick's thoughts because he's our resident Spurs fans. We've been talking about what the Spurs are going to do with his offseason to build around Wemby, but Wemby doing his best to expand his repertoire of moves, and this is kind of a part of that conversation. So we'll play that audio next segment. We also got Raj Rant coming up later on, and that'll be NFL related. I found a great breakdown of pass ratings with straight drop back passer rating and play action passer rating. And I think it's really interesting how Dak is an outlier when you start looking at that comparison. So we'll do that coming up here. But first, let's get updated, educated, and informed on all the top stories of the day with my man Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right, your Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In Major League Baseball, the Astros even their series with the White Sox with a 4-1 win yesterday. Hunter Brown was able to give 6 innings, only allowing 1 run, getting his 4th win of the season. Cesar Salazar had two RBI hits in what would become only his 2nd appearance for the Astros this season, with Dubon and McCormick adding the other run support. The Astros wrap up the series today in a day game with Spencer Arguetti taking the mound. And the Rangers salvaged a game in their series with the Mets with a 5-3 victory yesterday. Jose Urena gets the win after pitching 2 innings relief after Leota Taveras hit a go-ahead 2-run homer. Wyatt Langford gets credit for 2 RBIs, 1 early on a hit by pitch, and then 1 with a big single in the 6th inning to tie the game. The Rangers now get the day off before starting their weekend series with the Royals tomorrow. That's your Horn Headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn Headlines. Appreciate those. All right, let's get right to this Quinn Ewers audio. He spoke with RG3. They talked about a lot of different things. About a 45-minute conversation. So I'd encourage anybody who has the time, who's interested, to go check it out. It was pretty good. One of the things that I found really interesting was this cut when Quinn was asked what he's learned from Sark as a quarterback. And it's such a veteran response by Quinn Ewers. Here's Quinn when asked, "Hey, what do you learn from Sark in your time on the 40 acres?"
Well, I mean, from the day I got here, I think the thing I've heard most from him is you can't go broke taking a profit, right?
Yes.
Don't try to force those deep shots because he'll call them, but he'll call more of them if he trusts you to check one down if it's not
That's
there.
true. That's true.
And obviously just him being in the position that we've been in. He played college quarterback and then went to the Canadian League, so he obviously knows. He knows what it feels like to be in our shoes, and he said it. I mean, we're getting a PhD in quarterback play here. So he's been there, he's done that. He's had Heisman Trophy winners, he's had 1st-round draft picks. So right. I mean, you'd be silly not to trust the guy.
There you go. I love the first part of that. First of all, the lesson, hey, you never go broke taking a profit. For a quarterback, just take the check down. Take what the defense is giving you. All right, don't try to force anything. Just take what they're giving you. Defense they'll have to give up something. They can't defend all concepts in all areas of the field at one time. So just take what they give you. Usually that's designed to be the check down. Defenses play from deep to shallow. We rally to the check down. So the check down will be there. We go through our progressions. If that's the right decision, don't be afraid. A lot of young quarterbacks take that as a loss. They take that as, oh man, the defense defeated me on this play if I'm taking the check down. And as a veteran quarterback, you learn, no. Check down is a good thing. That's not a bad thing. That's an open receiver that at times can be the right play that you need to make. And I also think young quarterbacks, they have a tendency, especially Sark's offense. I read a stat earlier about A.D. Mitchell. A.D. Mitchell, according to SIS, had 37 unique routes that he ran last year. 37 unique routes. I know the route tree really well. I didn't know there were 37 damn routes on that route tree. That is a big tree. That's one of them big like oak trees right there, route trees, because I can name probably maybe 20, getting to 37 unique routes. And I'm not sure he ran all the routes in Sark's playbook. So Sark's got a really expansive playbook, a really sophisticated, almost elegant passing game. And it can, I think you as a quarterback can become infatuated with it. I think you can become somewhat enamored with, oh man, look at these routes. And when you have an arm like Quinn, you have the golden arm. You can make any throw on the football field. I'm sure you and Sark have talked about these fantastic, exotic route combinations. And you can't have these routes with other quarterbacks, but with you and your arm, we can open up the entire playbook of routes and route combinations. And I'm sure at first there was kind of this romantic notion that watch me complete, this deep rainbow crosser, and watch me complete this deep over route and this double move and this post route. And just because Sark calls those plays doesn't always necessarily mean you need to throw that vertical route all the time. And he basically kind of talked about Sark calling those vertical shots downfield. And sometimes as a veteran quarterback, you realize, no, that deep vertical route, although it is a beautiful route, you love to throw it and complete it because the crowd will be on their feet and they'll be on your draft highlight tape. It's oftentimes just designed to scheme open something underneath to clear out a safety or a defender. And now if that safety or defender, bites on something underneath, oh yes, it's wide open. But most of the time, that's not the purpose of the route. That's not the purpose of the vertical play, the vertical shot. And I think also for Quinn, he sees the vertical shot and he was going to take it. And there was this romantic, like I said, romantic notion, his infatuation with, oh no, we're gonna complete that beautiful deep ball because I have the golden arm and Sark is the creative, brilliant genius. And then you realize that's more theory. Some of those concepts that Sark breaks out, and yeah, every now and then you can complete them, but that's the exception, not the rule. That's more theoretical and conceptual, and the realistic, pragmatic approach and solution is usually, oh no, it was a simple, I have to make the simple and the routine play, not the spectacular play. And as a young player, you get obsessed with the spectacular play, and you realize, well, most football is just making the routine play consistently. Making that simple play consistently, which is a check down. Just throw it accurately. Let your running back get yards after the catch. So I think that's a little bit about what it was about for him as a young player. Now as a veteran, it's like, no, take the check down. You never go broke taking a profit. Maturity. That's what I heard there from Quinn. Okay, so the next cut here from Quinn is him talking about Sark. He's asked about what makes Sark so unique as a coach and with his leadership style. Here's what Quinn Ewers had to say.
Well, I think, obviously he's been through a good amount of stuff. He's had some tough adversity. Right. He's been through ups and downs. And I think it's rare, but I think it's been cool to see him just come out like a lot better on the other end, I guess I should say. Right. Just the way that he's able to connect with us. He said, he talks with us all the time about, kind of what he's been through. And we can kind of lean on him when we're going through things because, he allows that. And it's just cool to see a head coach, act the way that he does on like a player to coach level.
Right. Do you think him sharing those moments with you guys makes him more human to you and not just a head coach?
100%. 100%. Because I know most guys would not want to talk about their past. And I think he's comfortable in his own shoes and in his own skin that he can share those things. And I think that just brings the whole team closer. We're like, okay, our coach isn't perfect, so I think that allows us to have no fear of failure on the field and off the field.
Yeah, kind of referencing that secret sauce that we discussed earlier this week with that Sark Joe Klatt interview, where Joe Klatt references it as a culture of vulnerability. Everybody in the program opening up that Sark's example, telling their story, sharing their story, others connect to that story, and then the connections, the bonds on the team are not just player to player, player to coach, coach to coach. They're human to human, and there's a kind of a brotherhood that on an intimate level, a brotherhood that starts to form. And so their culture may be a little stronger than others. And when other players deal with adversity or when they're struggling, players know their story, so they know a better way to relate to them, to try to support them, try to encourage them. It's not just, it doesn't seem disingenuous and, inauthentic when a guy comes over to try to relate to you, because no, he actually knows your story. He knows why you might be struggling. You told him what you're distracted.
Yeah.
You told him why you feel burdened because of stuff going on. So
No,
it is pretty powerful, man.
And you may know somebody now and there that has similar struggles to you, and you may connect on somebody and may help you work through some things as well, just talking about it.
Yeah. Oh no, it's therapeutic. I was talking to Trey Wisner yesterday for our Third Longhorns podcast. Shout out to Nick Shuley and Fozzie Whitaker and Alex Okafor, and Jeremy Hills and Derek Johnson and the crew. And he's talking. I've been trying to figure out more details about this Culture Wednesdays, because guys bring it up. And I'm like, we don't know enough about it. So one of the details I found out was they just pick a new theme or something like that every Thursday, or sometimes it could just be something that's going on, like in our society, whatever it may be, something heavy on their heart. Maybe one of the players is going through something, whatever, and it opens up a different topic. But once they choose whatever the topic or whatever the exercise is going to be, they break off into groups, and the groups are not based on anything. I think they're random pretty much, because they're not position groups. It's not the same. The coaches are also in these groups too with the players. They're not position groups. They're not based on classification. They just throw them together, and they're different every week. So different random rotations every week, and you just end up with a different group of players and coaches. And there's no football being discussed. They just talk about each other. It's almost group therapy. That's kind of what I got from it. It's like group. It's basically group therapy, and they break off into little small groups and they do group therapy. That's just me. I'm trying to simplify it. That's it in a nutshell, and it's fantastic. It's great. And there's no football. That's kind of the one rule is, we're not talking about football here. This is about you as a human and you as a person. I want to get to know you. And let's talk about things that affect us as people and as humans. Let's get past the football thing. We do that all the time. And so, like I said, I'm trying to find out more and more details about it. But the Culture Wednesdays thing, all the guys talk about it with reverence. Like it's a special time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they respect it. That's why I said it kind of reminds me of therapy. Like, and now when we in there, it gets deep. There may be some guys get emotional. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay. So I said, I love it. I think it's group therapy, but it's just, I think it's natural and it's organic, just because it started with Sark and him being the lead therapist by example. All right, next cut here is, can we play the one about Quinn talking about his favorite wins?
Yep.
Here's Quinn, and these probably be easy to guess, but here's Quinn being asked, what were his favorite wins since he's been on the 40 acres?
Favorite win? I mean, I feel like there could be two. First, I think my first year that game against OU, that 49-0.
Yep, Red River Robert.
That was a lot of fun. I think everybody got to play it too, which makes that even better.
I like it.
And then going to Alabama last year and getting that one done. I mean, just the last drive of the game, I think that just says a lot about how we carry ourselves here. Hold the ball for 7 minutes in the game.
Yeah.
It's hard to do.
It's hard to do, especially in Tuscaloosa. I mean, I see you grinning over there. That was a big win, man. Like,
win.
Yeah, that was a big win. We talked about it. Honestly, it's hard to find a win that big without going all the way back to the mid to late 2000s in the peak of Texas football. And you can find one there, but that win was immense. So that was he didn't even bring up the Big 12 title game. So that Bama game was bigger than the Big 12 title game. It felt big.
Yeah.
It was bigger, no doubt.
Oh, it definitely felt bigger because I mean, especially too when you add in what was last year or 2 years ago now, where it was you were close and you felt it at home, like you felt you had a shot in that game, and it really gave a boost to the team that it felt like they can compete with the big dogs. And then solidifying the next year. Oh no, we were one of the big dogs now.
Yeah, like we were. That was not an outlier. That was not an aberration. That was real.
Yes.
We were as good as Bama then,
Yeah.
and now we're better.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, here's another cut, and what you may not know about Quinn is that Quinn is one of the best play action pass quarterbacks in the country. It's out of, first of all, the system itself. Sark runs a lot of play action as much as anybody in the country. Quinn had more play action pass dropbacks than anybody else in the Power Five. So it's a big part of Sark's offense. But Sark looks for quarterbacks that are good with play action pass, and we'll get into that here after this cut. But since it's such a big part of, and it's so essential to Sark's offense and such a big part of the offense, Quinn is arguably, as well versed in play action pass philosophy and technique as any quarterback in the country. So RG3, quarterback himself, asked him about, hey man, what is it about play action pass, and what is it about that concept that makes it so effective for you personally? Here's what Quinn had to say.
Well, I think we're good at it, and we love running the ball, I think.
Right.
And that obviously helps out a whole lot. A good run game is a quarterback's best friend.
It's true.
So, having a match up and look the same is always going to help me. And I think that I've gained a lot of confidence in pushing the ball down the field, and having to fit the ball in smaller windows when I have to, and like you said, taking the check down. Because I remember in the Big 12 championship game, I took a couple check downs, and I think I had 30 or 40 yards just off check downs. So that alone is huge.
Still talking about checking it down. I like it. It's the maturity in this game. But he brought up that they run the ball so much. And Sark is, he's adamant about running the football, force the defense to react to it, and then try to take his shots down the field vertically. But all of the analytics from, where you're talking about Pro Football Focus, all the data science says that it doesn't matter if your running game is great or not for play action pass to work. In the end, it's going to work regardless. It works at the beginning of the game. It works at the end of the game. Play action pass, it just works. And most of the time, majority of the time, the quarterback's effectiveness and all of their statistical metrics improve via using play action pass and that concept. We'll talk about this a little bit more in Rod's Red, but Sark knows this. So Sark, I always say Sark's offense is just an amalgamation of cheat codes. It's a gumbo of cheat codes. He just throws them all in there together and forces the defense to have to react and respect all those cheat codes. And when you do, ultimately, you're going to expose what the rules are to your defense. Following the pre-snap motion shifts, aligning to defend the bunch formations and compressed sets, the way you guys defend play action pass, the way you defend RPO. Over time, it reveals the rules of your defense, and then Sark is just an habitual line stepper. He's just going to find a way to violate those rules. And play action pass is one of the cheat codes that he likes to use a lot. And he's been using it. It's kind of a Shanahan thing. When he followed Shanahan in Atlanta, he started using play action pass a lot more because Shanahan and Shanahan disciples, they're big into play action pass built off of that zone blocking running scheme. But Sark uses deception as well and as much as any coordinator in college football. 50% of his passing game is play action pass. Probably another 12% of the passing game, 12 to 15% are RPOs. RPOs and screens. So you're really in terms of straight drop back situations. Quinn's only straight drop back situations probably 30 to 33% of the time. He's in just a straight drop back mode without any deceptive cheat codes or concepts to help him. And that's actually something the NFL wants to see more of from Quinn. They want to see him in straight drop back situations. I mean, in play action pass, he is 8th in Pro Football Focus grade in play action pass situations. And that's more than half his throws, as we've talked about. And on RPOs, he's 2nd in Pro Football Focus pass grade on RPO throws. But if you look at play action pass passing grade for him, he's 83rd, or at least last year was 83rd in non-play action pass Pro Football Focus passing grade. So it's something that he's got to work on, just straight drop backs, which is probably one of the toughest things to do in football for any quarterback. But that's why Sark looks for, and so it's no coincidence that Quinn's good at play action pass and Sark's offense, it's compatible with Sark's offense, which utilizes a lot of it because Sark looks for in his quarterbacks quick hands. He says that I look for accurate quarterbacks and quick hands. Those are the two physical traits I look for. Then it's leadership and competitiveness. But two physical traits, I need quick hands and I need accuracy. Accuracy, it's self-explanatory, right? I need a quarterback that can make all the throws and put the ball on the money. And arm strength, he didn't bring up arm strength. He said accuracy. But he said the other thing is quick hands because he has so many deception concepts in his offense. He needs sleight of hand. Play action pass, sleight of hand, right? You're going to be manipulating the mesh point. You're going to be changing the ball from one hand to the other. You're going to be, hiding it from the defense, turning your back on the defense. That's sleight of hand. RPO, same thing, right? That's manipulating the mesh point and then being able to throw the ball from different angles accurately when you're picking the ball out of the gut of the running back in that mesh point. There's a lot of, basically sleight of hand with his offense. And even the screen game, right? Screen game is a lot of it is, oh no, we're faking this and then we're using misdirection and coming back this way. So there's a lot of sleight of hand. So he's asking his quarterback to be, I always say, kind of be a magician. That's what sleight of hand is all about. There's a great quote from the movie called the Prestige about magic, stuff like that. So if you don't like magic, you're probably not gonna like the movie, but still it's a decent movie. And it claims that every magic trick has three parts. The first part is the pledge. That's when you show the crowd whatever the thing is, the bird. You can show them a deck of cards. You can show them it's a beautiful lady, whatever. And then it comes the turn. The turn is when whatever object you showed them, you make it extraordinary in some way. Either take it away, you cut it in half, right? Whatever you do, right? You blow it up, whatever. There's a lot of things you can do in the turn. That's the shocking effect to it. And then ultimately there's the prestige when you take something that you made extraordinary or you've made disappear and then you bring it back. That's the pledge. You go from, that's the prestige. You go from the pledge to the turn to the prestige. And that's basically what play action pass is. It's the pledge initially because you show them that it's going to be a run. You show them the football. They actually teach that to run to quarterbacks. Like, show them the football. Let the defense see it because the defense will react to the football. We're all eyeing and keying the football. And so when they see it and they see that it's a run, they will react to the run. And then you take it away and you hide it because they're like, oh man, it's not a run. What happened to the football? Because we're looking at the football. And then that's your turn. That's your right. That's your extraordinary event where you make something disappear and then you bring it back with the passing game. It's just it's football's version of a magic trick. That's what a play action pass is. And you're asking Quinn Ewers to be a magician. And you're asking to be a magician like 65% of the time in your offense. And that's why the sleight of hand matters. And not all quarterbacks are great at it. Some quarterbacks are elite at it. And Quinn actually is elite in that category. Some things he's really, really good at. But Sark, like I said, Sark is one of the things that Sark looks for in his wide receivers. In his quarterbacks. All right, we come back. We'll get into wide receivers. Had wide receivers on the brain because I want to talk about Nico Collins a little bit. I don't think we've given props to how good he was last season. So we'll get into that on the other side. Also, Raj rant. I want to talk about passer rating with straight drop back situations, in play action pass situations, and talk about how that comparison makes Dak Prescott one of the biggest outliers in the NFL. At least last season, that was the case. We'll do that on the other side. All that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis and Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into this statistical comparison. So it's a breakdown of passer ratings, play action passer ratings. Just talked about play action and how important it is for Quinn Ewers and Sark and his offense. But we talked about play action passer rating and play action pass, the concept and what it was. But this is a breakdown of play action passer rating and drop back passer rating in the NFL. And the top 34 quarterbacks, I believe, in the NFL in 2023. So it's got all of your starters, and it's got a couple of other quarterbacks represented here too, who got a lot of starting reps. Like Joe Flacco's on here, but so is Deshaun Watson. You got that kind of thing. So there are the quarterback listed, the leaders in play action pass rating and drop back pass rating. And there are a couple of outliers here, or at least some I think really stand out performers when you're making this comparison. And Dak Prescott, of course, is one of them. Now, the thing that makes Dak Prescott so, just outstanding, at least based on this comparison from last year's performance, was his rating in straight drop back situations. He had a 107.7 passer rating in drop back situations. That is higher than any other QB. Matter of fact, only 3 quarterbacks had a 100+ passer rating in straight drop back. Straight drop back is the toughest thing you can do in football. Most of the time, it's in second and long, third and long situations where you're in straight drop back mode. It happens more in the NFL on early downs, but a lot of times you have, like I said, some deception now associated with it, some RPO, some play action pass. Your screen game is thrown in there, whether it's a screen to a running back or a screen to a wide receiver on the outside. So it's just and straight drop back, unless you're talking about the quick game and a 3-step drop. And I'd love to see it kind of broken down by 5-step drops. That's usually when you're talking about a deeper more vertical route downfield. Those are even tougher. So the deeper you have to get in your drop without any deception concepts to help you or cheat codes like play action pass or RPO, the tougher it is for quarterbacks. And we talked about this CJ Stroud, right? CJ Stroud has had 14 completions, led the NFL in conversions, I should say, 14 conversions of third and 10+ yards to gain. And that led the NFL. That's the toughest thing for any quarterback to do. Everybody knows you're throwing. Everybody knows you got to get vertical downfield. It's not going to be a quick game 3-step drop either, and nobody's going to respect the play action pass at all. And so it's so predictable that those are the toughest situations for any offense when you can narrow down the ways that offense is going to try to attack you. So straight drop back, 3 quarterbacks with 100+ pass rating: Brock Purdy, 100.6, Kirk Cousins, 101.9, and Dak freaking Prescott, 107.7. Dak Prescott's 107.7 passer rating into straight drop back situations is better than 14 quarterbacks are with the play action pass concept applied. So when he's better than 14 quarterbacks in a play action passer rating, which is unheard of, which is crazy because most of the time, the majority of the time, your metrics as a quarterback, all your stats will improve while using play action. Matter of fact, there were 19 quarterbacks who had a 100+ passer rating while using play action pass. There are only 3 that had a 100+ passer rating in straight drop back situations. Now, Dak had a 95 non-play action passer rating, like a basically straight drop back situations. In play action pass situations, he had 107.7 in straight dropbacks. So he had at least a 95 in both. And I looked at quarterbacks who had at least a 95 passer rating in both straight drop back and play action passer rating, like Dak Prescott. You ended up with Kirk Cousins, CJ Stroud, Brock Purdy, and Derek Carr, in addition to Dak Prescott. So you got 5 quarterbacks that had at least a 95 passer rating in both straight drop back and play action passer rating. You had 2 quarterbacks that had a 100+ passer rating in both straight drop back and play action passer rating. Only 2: Brock freaking Purdy and Kirk Cousins. That's kind of why Kirk Cousins had a hell of a year last year. He really did. And as Patrick mentioned, he got straight cash homie as a result of it. There were 7 quarterbacks like Dak that had a higher straight drop back passer rating than a play action passer rating. And those quarterbacks were, in addition to Dak, Baker Mayfield, Sam Howell, Jalen Hurts, Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence, and Kyler Murray. Those are kind of weird, like I said, outliers, because most of the time, and everybody else had a higher passer rating in play action pass situations than in straight drop back situations. How about this? Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the league. This is so freaky, man. He had the same passer rating in straight drop back situations as play action pass situations. 94.1. He had the same. It was the same passer rating in both. It didn't have it. There was no difference. Like that. Yeah, that's a strange aberration too. So there you go. That's the breakdown of passer rating in straight drop back situations in the NFL last year, and in with play action pass being utilized. All right, one other quick nugget. I want to get to this really quickly. So we're talking NFL before we play this audio of Dan Patrick referencing what Wimby or who Wimby may be working with in the offseason. I don't think we've paid enough attention to how good Nico Collins was for the Texans last year. I'll give you a couple of stats about Nico Collins and how good he was last year. He had the second most yards per target in a single season since 1992. He had the second most yards per target, 11.9 in a single season since the metric started keeping track of it in 1992. He joined Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, and Julio Jones as the only three receivers who have averaged 3 or more yards per route run in a single season over the past decade. So he now joined Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, and Julio Jones. He's a part of that group as receivers who have averaged 3 or more yards per route run in a single season in the last 10 years. He had a monster season, like a
yeah.
And like I said, I hope he's just building on that. He was building up to it, but I don't know if he can top that. But think about it, now they got that guy at. Make sure I get the wide receiver salary right here. They got him as the 9th highest paid wide receiver. Yeah, he's basically him and Devontae Smith. Very close.
Yeah, and that's
basically he's sandwiched between DK Metcalf and Devontae Smith.
Yeah,
at $24.2 million.
That's 9th highest before Jamar Chase, before Brandon Ayuk, before T. Higgins, which are all expected to be more. Will probably all be more than 25.
Yeah, so it'll push him down to he'll be like 12th or 13th.
That's crazy.
All that's done. Yeah, he's the 9th highest paid receiver. And guys, I just gave you the stats. His season, if he has anything close to that, says that he's performing right now like a top 10 receiver, and you paid him right at the edge of the top 10. And as Patrick mentioned, in 3 more top wide receiver contracts, he'll be easily outside the top 10, bumped right on out the top 10. That's a hell of a bargain. When you look at 4 wide receivers making $30 million a year, hell, Jalen Waddle's at 28.2. He's basically, he's right there. Then Devontae Adams at $28 million. And like you said, you're about to get 2 more. Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb are about to make $20 million. Nico Collins is making, I would say he's making more than Deebo Samuel. So he's making good money. There are 21 wide receivers right now making at least $20 million a year. 21. In 2020, there was like 5.
No. And for Nico, you add in Diggs to help pull pressure off of you.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Yeah,
help you.
And you got a running game. Well, you don't have it yet, but you should have a better.
Better running game. You should. Tank Dell should be back and healthy. To help pull safeties back.
Oh, man, I did not realize he had been that good. I knew he was good. They're saying he's basically one of the best wide receivers. At least that season, it was one of the best wide receiver seasons we've seen in the last 10 years.
It makes sense in the fact of most of our wide receiver, once Tank Dell got hurt, there wasn't a lot of other guys on the wide receiver core. So when he was playing, he was the guy, and that offense was really good, and it didn't have a run game. So it would make sense that he had a great season. It just, yeah, I'm with you that I don't think I thought of it as being that good, but it makes sense that it was a really good season.
No, I had some fantasy nerds hit me up, and it was like, dude, I don't think you realize how good Nico Collins has been. I was like, well, tell me, show me. And they showed me, and I'll admit, now I'm a believer. Nico Collins, hell of a season. All right, let's hit this audio of Dan Patrick talking to Jamal Crawford. Now we have this ready to go, Patrick.
Yeah.
I want to get your thoughts about it while we have some time too. So Jamal Crawford was on the Dan Patrick show. Dan Patrick apparently had heard through the grapevine that Jamal Crawford was working with Wemby, that he's working on him, on mentoring him on moves and stuff like that. So Dan Patrick brought on Jamal Crawford to ask him about it, and here is what he had to say.
Well, we go back to earlier this season when we had him on the show, and I asked him, because he'd been doing some crazy moves. So I asked him about, if he could do this particular move. And he's like, yeah, I've been doing that for years. I'm like, yeah, okay. And then we hook up at All-Star, and I just show him some freestyle moves. And from there, our relationship kind of took off.
Wait, what did you show him?
Well, I showed him, a wraparound move where he wraps around his body. It's only reserved for tall guards, Dan. Guys with long arms that can pull this off. And I thought he could take us to the next level. But it was funny when I started showing him all the other rookie sophomores on the court, all the attention, they stopped shooting and just went over there. I'm like, okay, let's just keep this surface level because everybody's watching right
now. I kept maintaining during the season he needed a point guard to put him in positions. Like it felt like in the first half of the season, he'd get lost out there. He'd be out of position. He'd get bodied out of position. But can the Spurs get that point guard to help him? Because that feels like that's the next step in his evolution.
They absolutely can. And I can see why it would take a little bit because he's such a unique talent and you can use him so many different places on the court, right? Like you can use him bringing up the ball. You can use him in the mid-post area. You can use him in the post area. He can shoot transition threes and do everything in between. So I understand popping those guys' thinking because you just don't know exactly what you have until you have it. And even then, he can kind of stretch the imagination. But you're right, getting that point guard to kind of grow with him and that fits him would definitely serve them well.
Well, I want to get your thoughts about Patrick. Jamal Crawford working with Wemby for teaching the moves. What are your thoughts as a Spurs fan?
I think that's kind of explains what Wemby's been doing this offseason. You've seen him post a couple different pictures and like where he's been going to different places. But, he talked about it earlier that he wanted to work on that Kevin Durant move and everything. I think there's guys that he grew up watching that now he has the opportunity to go into a gym with and be like, well, how exactly do you do that? Because he's very much a student of the game and wants to know how these guys are pulling off moves. And so you want to see that, but you like seeing it. You want to see him do it with a bunch of different players though, and go, and work with other guys and work with bigs, work with smalls, work with everybody you can to be able to expand his game as much as he can and then go work. But the reality is he wants to get better. Anytime you hear that the guy's in the gym working when he doesn't have to be, when a lot of other guys are on vacation right now and maybe not working that level, that is always good to hear. So any action in the gym, I'm all for.
Yeah, no, he does seem. You're right about that. I forgot about that other audio that we played this year. And he talked about how he's been working on all of these moves, but he's so freakish that there are moves that he's going to be able to do that no human being has ever been able to attempt. You know what I mean? Like that's how great. Like I remember him. I remember them saying that he can, like when the ball gets wedged in between the rim and like the backboard, that he can kick it out.
Yeah, I remember hearing this.
That he can kick it out. That's a real thing. Like there's no human playing basketball has ever been able to do. Maybe Wilt. I don't know. That can't do. Who can do that? So I really
Kareem was into karate.
Maybe Kareem. Right? He's a volleyball player too. So
he knew Bruce Lee. So maybe it's.
Yeah, you're right. I'll just say but I can't wait to see this guy is he experimenting in the lab in the off season with stuff he could do that we've never seen. I hope he goes to work with. I know a lot of people work with the Dream too.
Yeah.
With Akeem. I hope he goes to work with Akeem.
I can tell you the Rockets are like Akeem. You're not allowed to talk to him.
Oh, that's right. It's probably that's a good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah, it's probably that's a good point. I never thought about it.
No, I know. But I agree. I'd love to see him work with Akeem. I'd love to see him work with Tim. I'd love to see and work with guys that have post moves and just, try and evolve your game in every way you possibly can. And then the second part of that too, they need to get a point guard. It's easier said than done. It's hilarious that the people are just like, they need to get a point guard. And you're like, okay, who? Well,
that's like they need a quarterback thing. It's like, well, yeah.
We do, but do they need to pay a point guard who's just there to pass the ball to Wemby $70 million a year? No.
Yeah, it's got to be the right guy because you're right. I said how they build around Wemby, it's going to be studied.
Yeah,
like in NBA history.
Hey, we'll see piece one of it within a week because the NBA draft's happening. They have the 4th and the 8th pick, so we'll see if they take 2 guys, if they make a trade, if they, move around, try to make some cap space, or what they end up doing in this draft, because they also have other very valuable picks because they have some future Atlanta picks and some other future picks that are pretty decent picks as well. So we'll see what they do. It'll be coming up here in the next week. We'll know a lot more about what the Spurs offseason, what their plans may be.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to see what they do, especially potentially like with bringing in veterans. The rookies, because I don't know about you. Probably know a ton about these rookies because you watch a lot of college basketball too. The guys will be coming in, and you pay attention to obviously, but it's not bringing in internationally or something like that. But I want to see what they bring in as a veteran present. That's going to be
exactly, and that's I think when you look at what like a real point guard, or when you talk about someone to be able to do that, you're looking at veterans because the point guards in this draft, it's like Reed Shepard 6'3", so he'd have to play point, but he's really more of a shooting guard. And then you can go over. There's some other. And then it's like you can get Stefan Castle. He's a really good defender, but he played shooting guard more in for UConn. So you don't really know if there's that point guard in this draft that is a facilitator and not just a scorer. So the point guards that are in are mostly scorers. And then you have defensive one in Castle who wants to be a point guard, but there's not really game film to know if he can be a facilitator either. So I don't know if there is one in this draft. And then when you go to free agents, the guys that you would think about are either not going anywhere or, 30 plus years old. And are you going to invest a lot of money to bring in somebody that age for a season or two and then hope you figure it out after that?
Yeah, no, like I said, there's a lot of different ways they could do it.
Yeah.
The veterans they bring in are going to say a lot about their vision for the construction around with
yes,
whoever that is. And like I said, a lot of guys are going to be really excited for the first time about the playing for the Spurs with the possibility of playing for such a unique talent like Wemby. So excited for you Spurs fans this offseason. I know it's going to be exciting next week for you guys because the NBA draft right around the corner, which we'll talk more about next week. But first, let's take the break here. We're getting ready to wrap this thing up and put it in the oven. Before we do, we'll play Who Said That? That's when Patrick plays pieces of audio from the sports world, sometimes beyond the sports world, and based on the context clues, based on the the familiarity of the voice, any clue you can get, you're supposed to identify who said that. We'll play that on the other side right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Moho and Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a new theme Thursday edition of the Rodcast. That's when Patrick, the Idealionaire, he plays jams that celebrate whatever the creative theme he's come up with. And usually that theme is inspired by pop culture, inspired by something happening relevant. And what was relevant this week was Juneteenth. We celebrated yesterday. So that is the new theme for a new theme Thursday, celebrating Juneteenth. So we appreciate Patrick and the musically themed days of the week. We appreciate all of them. Tomorrow will be your 512 Friday, always fun. You can listen to jams from local bands and artists, and then find out exactly where you can go see them live. That's the purpose of 512 Friday. So we appreciate Patrick there. Also, the topic for the big fat poll of the day is up as well. You can go check that out at the Horn ATX on X. On the big fat poll today, who is the best remaining free agent in the secondary right now in free agency? If you want to leave your own suggestion, you can do that too. But the 4 options are J.C. Jackson, Quandre Diggs, Stephon Gilmore, and Adoree Jackson. And yeah, it's not even close. This is a landslide for Quandre Diggs. And I got a feeling that's a little bit homerism going on there. And it's okay because Longhorn fans, they love them some Quandre. I love me some Quandre too. So there you go. That is the topic for the big fat poll today. You can go check that out. Right now, it's time for us, before we get out of here, to play Who Said That. That's when Patrick plays some pieces of audio. Then based on the context clues or the familiarity or any clues you pick up from the audio, you're supposed to be able to identify who said that.
I'm big on body language and looking in the opponent's eyes. They look defeated and they didn't want any more. And I knew that, our team knew it was going to be a 60-minute game, and Georgia didn't believe in that.
Some Georgia fans are taking that as trash talk. That basically he said that they played 60 minutes and Georgia didn't. Nobody really wants to trash talk Georgia because Kirby Smart is not the man you want to give a bulletin board material to. But that is has been seen as bulletin board material for Alabama, or at least for Georgia, next time they play Alabama, because Jalen Milroe is saying, basically, I looked in their eyes and they weren't ready to play 60 full minutes. I was a little surprised that Georgia lost that game, though, too. I'm not going to lie. Because Bama, after Texas played Bama, I wasn't impressed with Bama, but I know they got better as the season went on. But I'll give them credit. I picked Georgia in that game, too. I thought Georgia was going to win.
I think maybe there was a little bit of Georgia letting off the gas and getting there. They had some injuries as well. And Alabama played it really. I mean, Nick Saban didn't want to go out.
He did.
Losing multiple games in the regular season and going out like that. So he put out a good fight and they got the win. But yeah, if I was Jalen Milroe, I would not be the one talking trash. I would not be the one. I've been one like they're so good. They're good guys. We won, but it was a good win. It was a good win.
That's kind of how I would have taken the other route. I'd be like, nah, man, that was a knockdown, drag out affair. The best team won, but it was one of those games where I left respecting my opponent, and I think they got a hell of a team, and it's going to be tough to we have to face them again this year. Like, I would have praised them more and more, but it's bulletin board material now. It's already up there. You can't take it away. So we'll talk a little bit more Texas football tomorrow. I got a couple other topics on the Texas football. I got a chance to interview some guys for Third and Longhorns. I want to bring up some of those notes. We'll also start diving into the NBA draft. As my man Patrick mentioned, that's right around the corner too. So we got more stuff coming up for you tomorrow on the show. But in the meantime, I want to thank my man Patrick for everything that he does. He is the real MVP around here. Remember, the revolution will not be televised. We'll be talking about it right here on the Rodcast. We love you guys. We mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. Until next time, peace and hook 'em.